All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you would please go ahead and come to order. Oh, we're missing one. All right, if we could come to order in the chamber, thank you very much. I don't get to pound that gavel very often. I only do it at the beginning of the meeting because they told me never bang that gavel during the middle of the meeting. We're going to come back to order with a roll call from our city clerk, Kathy Valdez.
The record should reflect that all members are present with the exception of Councilmember Melendez, who we anticipate will be joining us shortly via Zoom.
Very good. And I'm advised by council, we had closed session earlier this evening. I'm advised by council that we have no reportable action on item CS1. I'm advised by council that we had no reportable action on item CS2. And now we'll proceed to our Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilmember Fox.
Please rise, remove your hats. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I think make a motion at this time to permit Councilmember Melendez to participate telephonically or by audio and video for just cause under the law.
Second.
There's a second to that. Okay, any discussion? Seeing none, please cast your votes. Are we all, okay, there we go. That is adopted with 4 in favor and 1 absent. With that, we'll welcome Councilmember Melendez through her remote appearance to the meeting. And we're going to convene our meeting this evening in honor of the memory of Alan E. Spike Harvey, who passed away on April 3rd. Spike served in the U.S. Army, served as a board member and president of the Vista Historical Society, and volunteered at the local American Legion and the San Diego National Football Foundation. He was also active at North Coast Church. Our condolences go out to him and his family and his friends. And now our city clerk, Kathy Valdez, has some procedural items to cover.
Thank you, Mayor. In accordance with the Brown Act, I'd like to announce that the City Council will receive compensation of $147.75 pursuant to Buena Sanitation District 200-6. I'd like to remind everyone that the City Council ordinance requires members of the public to observe order and decorum at the meeting and to conduct themselves in a courteous manner. Applause is appropriate under presentation items only. Students wishing to receive credit for attending this evening's meeting must stay for a minimum of 1 hour. However, we ask that you stay for the completion of the item rather than leaving in the middle of discussion. When your time is up, you may ask when the when the staff members at the back of the room to sign your paper. Thank you.
Thank you very much for approval of the agenda. This evening, we'll go to our city manager, John Conley.
Thank you, Mayor. There are no changes to this evening's agenda.
Okay, we have 2 presentations tonight. I'd like to invite my fellow council members to join me at the podium for the presentations. All right, it's our pleasure to present proclamations tonight recognizing the recipients of the 2025 City of Vista Employee Awards. I'd like to invite, come on down, John Torres, winner of the Mayor's Excellence in Service Award. John, we're going to present you with this. Everybody. Whereas the City of Vista recognizes the outstanding contributions of its employees whose dedication and commitment enhance the quality and service provided to the community. Whereas during the period of March 21, 2025 through August 11, 2025, a time of staffing transition within the Community Development Department, John Torres demonstrated exceptional professionalism by fulfilling the responsibilities of both Senior Office Specialist for Building and Senior Office Specialist for Planning. Whereas during this time, John Torres provided critical support for the Planning Division, assisted with the Planning Commission meetings, managed the Planning Division phone line, coordinating project distribution, and ensuring seamless operations within the department. John quickly mastered complex administrative tasks, including the preparation of Planning Commission meeting minutes, the coordination of public hearing notices, demonstrating ability and adaptability, initiative, and attention to detail. On September 15th, John Torres was promoted to Development Services Technician 1, where he continued to excel by providing outstanding service at the Development Services counter. Whereas John Torres demonstrated a strong work ethic and commitment to continuous learning and a willingness to go above and beyond to meet the needs of our community, now therefore it be proclaimed by myself as mayor and our city council and the City of Vista, we hereby congratulate John Torres on being selected as the City of Vista's 2025 Mayor's Excellence in Service Award, and do hereby proclaim Wednesday, April 15th, 2026 as John Torres Day in the City of Vista. All right, next we want to invite Chris Schuttgart, Manager of the Year, to come on down. Show that off. Read a little bit of it. All right. Whereas the City of Vista is committed to recognizing individuals whose dedication, leadership, and service excellence significantly contribute to the effectiveness and success of city operations, Chris Schuttgart has demonstrated outstanding leadership, technical expertise, and a dedicated commitment to excellence and service to the City of Vista. He has played a vital leadership role in the success and upgrade and implementation of the CityWorks and GIS systems, transforming them into streamlined, user-friendly tools that enhance workflows, improve accuracy, and save valuable time across multiple departments. His contributions have also advanced accessibility and inclusivity in public service through support of translation devices in city council meetings, ensuring effective communication and reliable technology during critical high-profile events. His proactive problem-solving, dedication to continuous improvement, and genuine commitment to customer service exemplify the highest standards of public service and leadership. He's a dependable resource, an innovative thinker, and a manager who consistently elevates both systems and people within the City of Vista. Now, therefore, we proclaim by the mayor and the city council, and we hereby congratulate Chris Schuttgart on his selection as the City of Vista 2025 Manager of the Year Award. And we name April 16th, 2026 as Chris Schuchart Day in the City of Vista. Okay. And finally, Shelby Coffrin, Employee of the Year. Come on down. All right. Whereas the City of Vista is committed to excellence in public service, it is fitting to honor individuals who exemplify outstanding leadership, professionalism, and service to our city. Shelby Coffrin consistently demonstrates exceptional leadership, teamwork, and a strong commitment to excellence, fostering a collaborative and inclusive work environment. She's a trusted colleague known for her professionalism, calm demeanor, and ability to lead with clarity and confidence in complex and high-pressure situations. During the city's inaugural Farmers Cup event in March of 25, Shelby provided critical leadership by organizing priorities, addressing challenges in real time, supporting staff, and strengthening future efforts through a comprehensive after-action report. Shelby further demonstrated adaptability and innovation as interim operations manager at the Moonlight Amphitheater, ensuring continuity while introducing initiatives such as the set rental pilot program to generate new revenue. Her ability to build strong relationships with colleagues, partners, and the community enhances the city's reputation as a professional and welcoming organization. Shelby's leadership, integrity, and dedication make her an invaluable asset and a model of public service excellence. Therefore, we proudly proclaim, on behalf of myself as mayor and the city council, we congratulate Shelby Coffrin being selected as the City of Vista's 2025 Employee of the Year, and hereby proclaim Friday, April 17th, 2026, as Shelby Coffrin Day in the City of Vista, in recognition of her exceptional contributions and steadfast commitment to serving the public. All right. Take a picture of us. Okay, our next proclamation is one declaring April 2026 as Earth Month in the City of Vista. Accepting the proclamation this evening are EDCO General Manager Matthew Cleary and Vista Field Representative Chris Spielmaker. Please come down and join us. Oh, thank you. Great to see you. Nice to see you. Here, let you show that up for us. Thank you very much for that. Whereas 2026 marks the 56th anniversary of Earth Day and the movement, and serves as an opportunity for individuals and communities to raise awareness and advocate for the health of our planet, air, ocean, soil, ecosystems, wildlife, and human health. Whereas the City of Vista celebrates Earth Day throughout the month of April in recognition of the city's commitment to implementing sustainability efforts and environmental stewardship. The theme of Earth Day 2026 is Our Power, Our Planet, reflecting the fundamental truth that the environmental progress is sustained through the daily actions and decisions of the community to protect the environment in which they live and work. The City of Vista commemorates Earth Day in conjunction with Arbor Day at the annual Alta Vista Botanical Gardens Earth Day Festival on April 18th, 2026, and we join our community in this celebration of Vista's dedication to the environment and sustainability. The City of Vista is committed with its municipal buildings and operations to 100% renewable energy through the Clean Energy Alliance, and we celebrate that our Public Works Administration building and the Vista Library are certified green business buildings through the California Green Business Network. Whereas the City of Vista has enacted community-driven programs such as the Tree Giveaway Program and the E-Bike Safety Training Program to encourage residents to implement sustainable actions in their daily lives, the City of Vista partners with EDCO to provide monthly mulch and compost giveaways while also supporting residents and businesses in properly sorting, recycling, and organic waste to promote a cleaner, more sustainable community. Whereas the City of Vista Council has committed to a goal of climate and environmental responsibility and a promise to strive for a healthier and safer future for all through improving our environment, protecting our natural resources, and practicing sustainability. Now, therefore, I and the members of the Vista City Council hereby proclaim the month of April 2026 as Earth Month in the City of Vista. All right. How about EDCO, huh? They do a great job for us here in Vista. All right. I only have 6 months left, or, well, no, let's see, what do I have, 8 or 9 months, but 11 plus years and never anything but a good word about EDCO in our community. You guys do a great job. Thank you. Now, did our Employee of the Year, Shelby Coffrin, leave yet? She's still here? Hey, rumor has it the city manager is going to grant you a day off on the day honoring you for being Employee of the Year. So enjoy your Friday. All right?
It's the least we can do. Literally. Literally the least.
And there was a gift certificate, too. Yeah.
They only know when they try and call or get something done on that Friday.
Okay, that's going to bring us to the oral communications opportunity on tonight's agenda. To speak on a member of the, on any item of business of the city that's not on the agenda, please request to speak during this section. If you're participating via Zoom, you may use the raise your hand feature or press *9 on your phone if you'd like to speak. The number of speakers heard during this segment will be limited to 10. Any remaining speakers will be heard during the second oral communications item if there are more than 10. With that, I see 2 oral communications requests here. The first is from Tammy Young. The second is from Scott Guerrero. If you heard your name called, come on down, grab a seat in the front row and be ready to speak. Tammy Young, you're up first. Is Tammy with us tonight? Mr. Guerrero, I'm going to let you go first since you're ready to go. Okay, come on, grab a seat, Miss Young, and we'll have you go next.
Hello, my subject is about the Bringle Terrace pickleball courts. Are there any board members here that use that facility? No? Okay. I guess it was January of 2025, they installed 8 additional courts. Very nice, and for the players, excellent. I go there often. But when I have called at least 2-3 times to the city parks person, they have admitted, well, we kind of got the cart before the horse because there are no bathrooms. They said they have some ideas and some works to do, and I said, can you put something temporary? Well, no. I don't know if it's a budget issue or that nobody has actually come up to any planning idea to fix the problem. It kind of seems like I have talked to many players, men and women, that just use the bushes away from the courts, and it would kind of be a public health issue. So I don't know if that's any way going to be resolved or just let it go. So I don't know if it's coming this year, next year, whatever. If anyone was to go over and look at the Poinsettia Park, they added 6 new courts. They added a very nice bathroom facility with a drinking fountain. If you want to model after that, it would be fantastic. There's a perfect location in the northwest corner of the courts for something just like that, and it would be awesome. Another issue, and I saw it this week. There's some new landscaping taken care of, and they're putting bushes and ice plant and everything and doing a nice job. And it kind of seems like, oh, gee, that really looks good. But if you look really close, it looks like it was purposely meant to cut off any foot traffic from the west side parking lot to get to the west side pickleball courts gate. And it was easy, just up the hill. If you wanted to do something really nice, you could have built maybe some concrete steps just to walk from the parking lot up to the hill, and it might have been like 20 feet. But now they've cut it off with the shrubs and plants, and I guess they don't want any foot traffic at all. So unless you have to go way to the front of the building up by the tennis courts, or you go way around to the north side, there is an asphalt walk path, but it is not ADU compliant. So there's many issues there, and like I said, when I talked to someone at the city, and well, we saw that was a problem, but no one seems to want to fix it, or it's pushed out quarter after quarter, year after year. It would be nice if there was some place to use as a bathroom and at least a walkway from the parking lot.
Thank you very much. I think our city manager had a thought on that.
We are preparing to build a trail a paved walkway from the pickleball courts directly to the bathrooms in the rec center, which will be commencing later this year.
Okay, next we'll hear from Tammy Young, and then we'll hear from Barbara Gordon on Zoom.
Good evening. I would like to propose this request for support from the City of Vista to acquire, rehabilitate, and operate a vacant residential property located at 1558 Goodwin Drive as a 24-hour emergency safe haven for youth. Stella's Umbrella will serve as a walk-in refuge for children, teens, and young individuals under the age of 18 who are experiencing abuse, neglect, homelessness, or crisis situation such as rape. Things happen after 5 p.m. 211 give you just referrals numbers. Any immediate crisis. This house has been boarded up. It is severely overgrown and unmaintained. I believe I provided pictures. It's been there for several years. It's a known site for repeated trespassing incidences, and people have been getting arrested throughout these years from that property. The community members, including myself, have personally witnessed the decline of this property over several years. The condition of the home has created both a public safety hazard and a missed opportunity for meaningful community use. So Vista, I was born and raised here at Tri-City Hospital. I went to Vista School Districts, Unified School Districts my whole life. I'm 48 years old, so I love Vista. And at the same time, Vista, it has a lack of immediate access for safe space. Existing systems, hotlines, referrals, intake processes often delay help when it's most urgently needed. So children experiencing, like I said, all that abuse or anything at home. So I would like to say that I have the Friendship Church of Oceanside to do whatever. I mean, if they have, I'm not sure what the process exactly is, but I know that it's a grant and they support this. So if they have to, I'm not sure, but I just know that I would like for it to be emergency stabilization for support. But, excuse me. The expected outcomes, I would like the immediate intervention, the decrease of trespassing, the increase of community trust and engagement, positive youth development through creative programs, reputable model for other communities. But so I would like to request to support from City of Vista to assistance in determining ownership and legal pathway for use.
Thank you very much. Next, we're going to hear from Barbara Gordon on Zoom, followed by Becky Rapp and then Madison. Barbara Gordon.
Good evening. I am concerned as a youth advocate that nearly every week a new intoxicating, mind-altering product emerges, often unnoticed until reports surface of people being harmed, and the physical and mental health of our youth is in jeopardy. Products like intoxicating THC, hemp, and kratom are dangerous and addictive. Intoxicating hemp compounds like Delta 8 or Delta 9 THC and many other of these products are available in convenience stores, vape shops, online without any oversight, and in many places without any age restriction. Potent kratom compounds become especially dangerous when it is concentrated into products like gummies, drinks, powder, capsules. These are also sold in smoke shops, gas stations, convenience stores, or online. Marketed as natural, these products can be just as harmful as synthetic opiates, posing serious danger. The FDA warns that kratom products like 7-OH are not approved or they're not lawful and unsafe, with the risks including seizures, depression, anxiety, addiction, and overdose-like symptoms. I am urging the City Council to treat intoxicating hemp products as a public health issue, not as a product that is in the gray area. As a community, we need to insist that any mind-altering substances that are manufactured, packaged, or marketed should not be allowed to be sold in the marketplace. Public safety is the city's primary responsibility. Thank you for letting me speak this evening.
Next is Becky Rapp, followed by Madison, followed by Trina Priest. Becky Rapp.
Good evening. My name is Becky Rapp, and I'm here tonight to ask you to please prioritize public health in relation to marijuana consumption. It's more important than ever before that accurate, science-based information be presented to this council and to the public you serve. A recent report from the National Academies of Sciences, our nation's leading scientific advisory body, is recommending federal action to address the serious health risks associated with marijuana consumption. This is a clear warning from the scientific community that public policy is not in line with serious public health risks. The report highlights several critical concerns: dramatically increased THC potency, the rise of highly concentrated products like vapes and dabs, and the overabundance of unregulated hemp-derived intoxicants like Delta-8 THC that are being sold in our local tobacco and smoke shops. These products are available all over our city, often poorly labeled and misrepresented to parents and youth. This leaves our community vulnerable as awareness of these risks remains extremely low. Here in our city, emergency departments and pediatric specialists are seeing real impacts. Youth experiencing psychosis, severe anxiety, and cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome. I urge this council to please invite physicians from Rady Children's Hospital and doctors from our local emergency departments to come and speak directly to you. Let them share what they're seeing firsthand, and let this council hear directly from the medical community about how these products are affecting our youth and our families. The National Academy's report is clear. We need better public education, better data, and policies that are grounded in public health, not just access and revenue. Thank you.
Next is Madison, followed by Trina Priest, followed by the caller ending with 7234. Madison.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and City Council. I'm here to speak about the public safety risks associated with high THC cannabis and what that means for our roads. A recent federally funded study highlighted something important. We still do not have a reliable, practical way to measure marijuana impairment at the roadside like we do with alcohol. Researchers are now working on a new THC breathalyzer using 3D printed technology, but even they acknowledge it is only a proof of concept and requires significant further validation. Marijuana use has become more normalized and accessible, but our ability to keep impaired drivers off the road has not kept pace. The study itself makes clear that there is a growing need for fast, reliable roadside tools due to increasing cannabis use, and that the lack of current such tools raises the risk of accidents and fatalities caused by intoxicated drivers. Even more concerning, federal researchers and agencies have acknowledged that THC levels in the body do not reliably correlate with impairment the way alcohol does. That means law enforcement is left without clear, objective standards, making it much harder to identify and prevent impaired driving in real time. We also know that THC affects reaction time, motor coordination, and judgment, which are obviously critical for safe driving. When you combine increased access to high-potency products with limited enforcement tools, you create a real and growing public safety gap. This is especially relevant as the city considers expanding marijuana storefronts and retail access means more use, and more use inevitably increases the risk of impaired driving on our roads. We should not expand any retail access to an intoxicating substance faster than we can responsibly manage its consequences. I urge a cautious approach to prioritize road safety and recognize that this is not a solved issue. Our communities, especially our children and families, are depending on you to get this right. Thank you.
Next is Trina Priest, followed by the caller ending in 7234, followed by Peggy Walker. Trina Priest. Trina Priest. Okay, we're going to, oh, yep, there you go. Go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor Franklin and City Council. Can you hear me still?
You got a bit of an echo.
Yeah, I'm not sure why.
Tell you what we're going to do. We're going to hear from the next caller. We're going to give you a few minutes to check out your equipment there, and we'll come back to you. Let's hear from the caller with phone number 7234.
Good evening, Vista City Council. My name is Terry Ann Skelly, and I'm a parent of 3 adult sons and a youth mentor and public health educator. In my work with children and youth, I receive a great deal of public health information regarding environmental issues that affect them. lately, one of the environmental issues that seems to be in the public health news is the impact of secondhand tobacco and marijuana smoke and vapor, and thirdhand smoke and vapor on their health, especially where it occurs for children and youth, where they sleep, study, eat, and play. I see that a marijuana, tobacco, smoke, and vapor policy for multi-use complexes or apartment buildings has been discussed by the City Council. Thank you for that. The value of smoke-free and vape-free housing spans health, financial, and legal benefits for both residents and property owners. Prohibiting marijuana and tobacco smoking and vaping is increasingly viewed as a standard, marketable amenity rather than just a restriction, with surveys showing up to 92% of renters prefer smoke-free, vape-free environments. Because the cross-contamination of marijuana and tobacco smoke and vapor in housing affects children and youth, older adults, and other vulnerable populations disproportionately from other homeowners who can afford to buy a home. Vista could join Carlsbad in adopting just such a policy. Thank you for hearing my concerns this evening.
Okay, we're going to go back to Trina Priest now. And Ms. Priest, we want to recommend that you turn your volume on your speakers all the way down, which may eliminate that echo. Trina Priest.
Okay, is that any better?
Yes, I think it is.
Oh, good. Well, good evening. I'm Trina Priest, a middle school teacher and mother of 3 teens. I've attended city council meetings many times in person and more recently with teens who've expressed their concerns about the city and its image. I come today with that issue in mind. My concern is for today's young people. So here in our county, the average age of initiation of alcohol and marijuana use in San Diego County is 12. Remember, this is the average, so alcohol and marijuana canon does begin earlier. Addiction is a pediatric onset disease, so preventing the initiation of harmful marijuana use cannot be underestimated. Youth lack the information necessary to understand the ramification of drug use in general. When I think of the reason why that is, I notice the messaging around them, the social media, of course, in our city, and then the presence of marijuana storefronts, delivery services, and their large billboards. Together, they kind of mute the message of drug use and its negative consequences. If children grow up in communities where alcohol and tobacco and marijuana businesses are common, their perception of risk of using those drugs will be muted. Youth cannabis use generates decreased cognitive function, impacts on attention, memory, learning, and educational vocational attainment, and increases adverse effects on mental health for young people. Only pot profiteers have benefited from their existence in Vista. Youth, families, teachers, law enforcement have not. Thank you for letting me speak tonight.
Next is Peggy Walker, followed by the caller labeled iPhone. Peggy Walker.
Thank you. Good evening. As you've heard tonight, marijuana is a concern for many families. As a public health professional and youth mentor, I want to follow up on the disturbing message from the National Academy of Science, Engineering, and Medicine, which was chartered to advise government officials on pressing scientific matters. In a new study just released, the Academy reports that minimal oversight of marijuana legalization has allowed THC content to increase more than tenfold, allowed manufacturers to downplay cannabis harms and exaggerate so-called medical and/or therapeutic uses. Poor regulation of the marijuana industry, the Academy states, is inappropriately focused on sales and revenue instead of mitigating public health impacts. It is calling for urgent action to protect the public from adverse effects ranging from lower IQ in youth to increased rates of psychosis, suicidal ideation, cancer, stroke, heart disease, and cannabis hypermesis syndrome. The Academy is urging lawmakers at every level to protect communities from marijuana's harms with actions that can be taken without creating new laws. Those include potency caps, advertising restrictions, best practices to limit youth access, and establishment of a public health surveillance system to transparently track public health impacts. I simply ask you to consider these actions to protect youth. Thank you.
Next is the caller labeled iPhone, and then looks like our last speaker is Rafina Carrion. Caller labeled iPhone. If you're waiting to speak, go ahead and see if we can hear you.
Mi nombre es Claudia Carreño.
Okay.
Disculpen, yo no hablo inglés, pero quería dar mi opinión.
Un momento, por favor. Do we have our visual translation service?
Ahorita estamos poniendo el sistema para traducir, ¿ok? Un
Sí,
momento.
gracias.
Gracias.
Por favor, continúe. Continúe, por favor.
Oh, sí, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Claudia y quería opinar acerca de el humo de segunda mano, porque personalmente a mí me ha estado afectando porque mis vecinos fuman y entonces pues me entra por la ventana, aunque hay veces que yo cierro, pero siempre el olor es muy concentrante. Fui al hospital porque tenía mucha tos y ahí me dijeron, señora, ¿usted fuma? Y yo les dije que no. Dijo, "Oh, pues es que se están afectando sus pulmones". Dije, pues pueden hacerme pruebas, pero yo no fumo. Y y pues disculpen que yo les tenga que contar esto, pero pues sí, me gustaría que ustedes como autoridades puedan pues ayudarnos a que, pues a ver que ya no sea tanto la venta del tabaco, marihuana y todo lo que se vende. Bueno, discúlpenme y buenas tardes.
Gracias. ¿Te llamabas Rufina? That was Rufina? Very good. Okay, then we're looking for the last caller was the caller labeled iPhone. Do we still have one waiting to speak? Oh, that was her. We got it relabeled. Very good. Thank you very much. No, there's one more speaker.
Buenas tardes.
Oh,
¿Sí me
continúe, por favor.
Buenas tardes. Yo también quería comentar sobre eso del tabaco y de la marihuana, pues que sí estoy de acuerdo con todas las personas que están aquí presentes y en el Zoom para que pues se haga algo al respecto, ¿no? Porque la verdad sí es muy difícil estar así en la ciudad y pues vas a un lugar y pues lo primero que hay es humo de cigarro o o marihuana y pues pues sí no es muy agradable para nuestros niños porque pues les afecta. Yo tengo un niñito con asma y pues la verdad sí es muy difícil y solo quería dar mi comentario. Buenas tardes.
Thank you very much. Okay, that's the end of our public comment opportunity, the end of our speakers who have requested. So we'll close the opportunity for oral communications at this meeting of the council, and we'll proceed to our consent calendar. The recommendations on the following consent calendar will be enacted in one motion unless an item is removed from the calendar. And a member of the public may remove an item by submitting the request to speak card to the clerk secretary by using the raise their hand feature on Zoom or by pressing *9. Items removed from the consent calendar will be considered immediately following the adoption of the consent calendar. We have 10 consent items this evening. Looks like item 5 has been pulled, C5. Are there, Councilmember Contreras?
I go ahead and move the remainder of the consent item forward.
Councilmember Fox.
Second.
Very good. I'm just going to comment with regard to C10 that we've had a property, the old Circle Church building in the downtown, that has created a lot of difficulty for the community. And I want to say thank you to staff for coming up with, especially our city manager and his office, for coming up with a creative agreement to make sure that the owner of the property could afford to demolish it, which is really essential for safety at this point. The city of Vista will have a collateralized agreement to make sure that the taxpayers are 100% guaranteed to be made whole for that, but this is very important. And by the way, our rate of return and of interest will be higher than our other investments, so it's actually a good deal for the taxpayers all the way around, but very, very important. It's been really impacting the condition of our downtown and surrounding communities, so really appreciate our progress on that and look forward to seeing that building raised. With that, we have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes. Okay.
Councilmember Melendez, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
All right, the consent calendar is adopted with 5 votes in favor. Next is C5. We have 3 speakers that wish to be heard on item C5. We'll start with Mary Cottle, and then we'll hear from Arlene Tendick, and then from Lisa Sanders. If you heard your name called, would you please come forward, sit in the front row, and wait for your opportunity to speak? Hello.
I'm Mary Cottle. I would like you not to approve the final mapping of this development yet. I have concerns about the draining on the north side. There's no call for any type of drainage, and that northern slope all faces towards my driveway on lots 2 and 3, and actually part of 13. And then the other thing is, I would request that they put a wall all the way across from lot 2 and 3 down the full side of that hill. They have a wall at the end for the noise, but they don't have a wall all the way down. And the way they have it sitting is the headlights coming up off their streets will be hitting the front of my house and straight in my front window. I would like that taken care of. And the third thing is the wires hanging from the power poles out there. They disconnected them, let them fall, and then they hooked up their power line, and those wires are still hanging there. I would like that all addressed, if possible.
Okay.
Anybody?
We will definitely speak to your concerns when the other public commenters have had their opportunity to speak.
Okay.
Thank you. Arlene Tendick, followed by Lisa Sanders.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Arlene Tendick. I presented this project to Vista Council in November of 22. I am still on the project team managing community communications and fielding our neighbor concerns. So we're here tonight just in case there are any additional questions that staff isn't able to answer. We did host an informational meeting prior to the start of construction in which we had donuts and coffee and our land development team was on site just to walk through what was planned. I'm confident that we are addressing all of Mary's concerns and staff will speak to that in more detail. So thanks so much.
Thank you, Lisa Sanders.
Hi, I'm Lisa Sanders. I work with Lennar. I'm here available for questions, but I'll leave it up to staff to answer your questions.
Very good. Councilmember Contreras.
So the issues that were brought up by the public speaker, have those been addressed?
We had the drainage issue, the wall,
Would you like
and
the
wires.
staff here that reviewed the plans?
Whoever can provide that.
You guys can give us some
answer.
feedback on the drainage, the fencing and wall on the north end, as well as the power wires.
Good evening, Mayor Franklin, council members. Patsy Chow, I'm the Assistant Director of Community Development. And with me tonight, we have Amy Harrison, the Assistant Engineer in Land Development in the Engineering Department, who actually reviewed the project as far as the construction documents from an engineering perspective. And Amy actually prepared a short presentation. If you'd like to forego that, we can actually jump right into the issues, or if you'd like to have the short presentation that might help clarify the issues, we can do that too. So I'll leave it to your decision on that one. Just let us
Is
know.
the presentation directly relevant to these three issues, particularly the drainage? Okay,
Yes.
then please proceed.
Yes. So we have a short, brief PowerPoint.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and Vista City Council. My name's Amy Harrison. I'm in land development here at the City of Vista, and I'm also your project manager and plan checker for this development. In 2022, the City Council had approved a general plan amendment, site development plan, and tentative subdivision map for the 46 single-family homes located at 2123 North Santa Fe Avenue. On your screen, you'll see the key map, which is an overlay of this whole development. On the next sheet, you're going to see the final map, and on the western side, or on the left side, there's a 6-foot wide SDG&E utility easement. This easement is going to remain. There's a power pole located directly across from Ms. Cottrell's property. And behind there, there's a brow ditch that's going to convey all of the drainage that's on the northern side of the development. I'm going to turn back to the key map. So you'll see on the western edge of the development, directly next to North Santa Fe, there is a basin. We also have one on the northern edge of the on the northeastern edge of the development. All of the stormwater is going to be treated and detained through this area. The brow ditch that's on the northern side across from Ms. Cottrell's development will pick up the water that's coming from the slopes going down towards her property. As part of the development plans, there are a series of retaining walls that are currently in plan check to get approved for the development. And there are some located direct where you see this power pole. So on the slide that I have before you, I have boxed walls 101 to 103. This is going to support that power pole that is to remain as part of what you see here. And one of the concerns was about drainage in this area. There shouldn't be any safety concerns here because this brow ditch is offset from where the power poles are to remain. SDG&E requires a 5-foot separation from their utilities, and this semicircle that you see is because of the offset. The power lines that are directly west of this pole will remain. They're not planned to be underground, but there isn't any conflict with the brow ditch that's below there because we have the vertical clearance from the power lines as well. Okay, I think that was all of the concerns.
And if I could just add, thank you, Amy, with regards to the issue of the landscaping and also the fencing. There is, as part of the approval that the council did back in 2022, there is a 5-foot tubular steel fence, black tubular steel fence that runs along the northern edge and the eastern edge of the project boundary. And that is going to be part of the project, obviously, as it's being constructed. And also, in addition to that, some comments, I think concerns were raised in an email conversations from Ms. Cotto in terms of landscaping. Obviously, the slopes are treated, slope landscaping, ground cover, shrubs. There are 15-gallon trees, according to our landscape manual, that actually treat the slopes back there. But again, as Amy pointed it out, with respect to all the improvements, the retaining wall, the brow ditch, within the utility easement, as far as SDG&E is concerned, there have been no concerns raised to our knowledge, to staff's knowledge, as far as all the improvements that are shown in these improvement drawings, grading plans that have been reviewed by staff thus far. So, thank you.
Councilmember Contreras? I apologize. No, I apologize. Our ordinances don't allow it. Everybody gets 3 minutes. I'm sorry, it's not within my control. I'm really sorry, but we have an ordinance adopted by the council. I'm charged as mayor and as chair of the council to enforce it. I apologize. I'm sorry. It's not my decision making. Councilmember Contreras.
Well, I have always been against this development. It is a sprawl development. We went from an A1 zone to whatever, like medium high density. I voted against it before. I am not satisfied with this final map. I'll go ahead and move that we do not accept this final map.
Help me understand on the drainage issue. So is the grading plan after the detention basin, is it expected, based on our analysis, that there will be a greater quantity of runoff towards Ms. Cottle's property than before the grading and the completion of the development?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Councilmember Contreras. To answer your question, Mr. Mayor, no. The purpose of the detention basins and the storm vault facility at the eastern basin is to detain the water and also to treat it. We want it to be a lot cleaner than it came in. There is not expected to be any negative impacts for drainage to any of the surrounding properties, including Miss Cottrell's.
Okay, very good. What do we know about the wires that are hanging? Does anybody in the planning department know anything about any hanging wires? Is that an SDG&E issue, or do we not have any knowledge of that?
Staff does not either at this point, and I've had conversations with Ms. Harrison, but we're not aware of any situation of that and that's this nature at this point.
The status of any wires hanging from utility poles would be SDG&E or the relevant utility and not the developers or the builder. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Can we follow up with SDG&E to find out if there are any power lines that have been left hanging, whether they're energized or not?
Yes, certainly. We can certainly.
I believe you that there are, and I'm asking staff right now if they'll conduct an investigation as to the status of any lines, whether they're electric lines or phone lines or whatever kind of utility the line they are. Let's find out. Well, if you'd please, I'd like to ask Ms. Chow if you'd please look at the photographs that Ms. Cottle has before she departs tonight so that you'd have an awareness. Maybe she can send those to you. And let's conduct an investigation to make sure that everything is safe and sightly, that everything looks the way it should. We'll work with SDG&E for you on that. The power lines wouldn't be the builder wouldn't be in charge of them, but let's get SDG&E or the relevant utility to correct that. Okay. And with regard to the wall, what do we? How do we address that concern? Is that a concern? Do we believe that the trajectory of the traffic on that new road will shine lights during the evening hours into Ms. Cottle's property? Do we have a way to assess that?
We can see if this development is a good candidate for shields on the lights. And we can ask the developer to implement that if they haven't already planned to do so.
You're talking about like a shroud on the streetlights?
Yeah, to try to block some of the light from coming in.
I feel like she's talking about headlamps on automobiles.
On automobiles?
Right? Yeah, I think that's her concern. So I don't know. Do you have a thought on that?
It's my understanding that we submitted plans to change the steel tubular to a vinyl fence, which would address Ms. Cottle's concerns.
Okay, so
we're just waiting on.
So there's the fence is what, 95% obstructing the passage of light, or what kind of a fence is it going to be?
So it would be a vinyl fence, which would, I mean, the home pads, or I'm sorry, the home sites and Ms. Cottle's property. The pad elevations are pretty similar. I believe it's about a two-foot difference. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but they're fairly even. So a 5-foot fence right there would, I believe, address that, but we can definitely look into it if that's, Patsy, did I misspeak?
Mayor Franklin, if I could address also, in addition to what was just mentioned, we are in the process of reviewing the retaining wall, and obviously some of these plans as in construction mode. I have not personally seen the fencing plan, but if that is the case, that it's supposed to be substituted with a solid fence, we'll be working together with the developer to address that. However, what I mentioned earlier, as far as the 5-foot tubular steel fence, that is what got approved by City Council back in 2022. So I can only reflect based on what got approved as Exhibit B, as I have not seen the actual construction documents at this time, so I cannot expand on that. But certainly I can address that with the developer if that is the wish of the council, to have that addressed in terms of a solid fence to minimize the lighting spillage onto neighboring properties.
So that seems like the builder is willing to accept that potentially. Sounds like you've already made that plan to build a fence that would significantly block the passage of light. Okay, so any objection to us making that a condition of the approval? Okay, well, yeah. Okay, staff understands what my suggestion is. So I would offer a motion that we approve item C5. It sounds like, I'm not an engineer. I don't pretend to be one, but I have to trust our engineers because I don't have the expertise and none of us on the council do. So with regard to the drainage, I'm trying to answer your question. We've got our engineering staff here, and I don't believe that they're partial to you or to the builder. They do an analysis of the runoff, and they're telling me that, and they're educated in these matters, that they don't believe it's the drainage is going to negatively affect you. Now, because I don't have a degree in that or any, well, they're telling me, and I see that they've built a detention basin that's going to hold the water that runs off the property. I apologize. I'm sorry. I want to share my thoughts with you. You asked for my feedback. Sometimes I very much wish that this was a back and forth, but it's not allowed, and I'm not allowed to do it for one if I don't do it for everybody. So I'm required to enforce the decorum consistently. I apologize. They've been willing to make a concession with regard to the wall to keep the lights out of your property so that the headlights don't shine. That seems reasonable. We can take care of the hanging wires. So with that, I would offer that motion to adopt C5 with the condition of the vinyl fence as stipulated by the builder. Councilmember Fox.
In the case that there is an inordinate amount of runoff that ends up happening, where does liability fall for that?
The liability falls on the development. So as part of their application, they have subdivision agreements that they have to enter into with the city of Vista. And there's a CC&Rs that will get approved concurrently with the final map and will get recorded with the final map at the county. And this document spells out the maintenance responsibilities for the basins and the other drainage features that are part of the development.
Okay. Well, I think I think the other two concerns are in process. So I'll second the mayor's motion.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell.
This project came before the council prior to my being elected, as my understanding is, and that's a fact. It's not my understanding. We are 4 years into this project. I guess this is more of a question for our city manager or city attorney. At this point, do we have any legal reason to deny a project like this, or what recourse or action could come if we were to deny this project?
So under the California Subdivision Map Act, if the final map conforms to the tentative map and the developer has met all conditions attached to the tentative map, it's a ministerial duty of the council to approve the final map. So in other words, you lack discretion.
So at this time, it satisfies all of those?
As far as staff has reported, I do believe it has.
Okay, those are all my questions.
Okay, very good. Seeing no other requests to speak, we have a motion, a second. Please cast your votes. Councilmember Melendez, how do you vote?
Aye.
She voted aye.
Yes.
Okay, that item, motion to approve C5 is approved with 4 in favor and 1 opposed. Okay, we have 5 discussion items this evening. Our first item is regarding an agreement for concession services at the Moonlight Amphitheater. If any members of the public wish to speak on this item, they may indicate so by using the raise their hand feature, by pressing *9, or by submitting a request to speak card. Speakers will be called upon after the presentation. Our Recreation and Community Services Director, Margaret Hamer, will introduce the item. We must have speakers on this.
Good evening, Mayor Franklin and Deputy Mayor O'Donnell and council members. We're grateful to be here this evening to review the Moonlight Amphitheater Concession Services Agreement. I'll pass it over to my colleague, Sydney Roth.
Thank you and good evening, Council. So to provide a little background and context, there have been 4 different vendors who have provided concession services at the Moonlight Amphitheater since construction of the concessions building. And staff knew that an agreement with Bread and Cheese Eatery was going to expire on April 1st of this year. In anticipation of that, staff issued a request for proposals on November 13th of last year. Due to community feedback, that RFP was canceled. However, a new and expedited RFP, I should say, was issued on March 30th. Before delving into the details and the results of the RFP, I do want to take this opportunity to note that there are many advantages of the request for proposals process, and we just have a few tonight. It does promote fair and open competition, giving all qualified bidders the opportunity to do business with the city. It also allows vendors to propose creative ideas that the city staff may have never even considered. And it allows the city to engage in best value procurement and take multiple criteria into consideration in accordance with Vista Municipal Code. And it allows the city to negotiate the contract terms, getting the best possible value for our taxpayers. So with that in mind, there were 6 proposals received following the issuance of the March 30th request for proposals, and they are listed in alphabetical order. The RFP had a two-phased evaluation approach. The first phase consisted of evaluating the written proposals by 5 different city staff from various departments. And the proposals were evaluated on weighted criteria in accordance with Vista Municipal Code, but specifically included project description and clarity, the ability of the firm to meet deadlines, facility equipment, proposed sales method, organizational capacity, program experience, their proposed menu, financial resources, and their revenue sharing structure. And so firms had to obtain an average of 105 points or more out of 150 possible points on all those criteria in order to advance to the second phase. And it is worth noting that all 6 firms who applied did advance to phase 2. The second phase of the evaluation was a tasting of proposed menu items and an interview. This lasted about 45 minutes for each firm, and it allowed the panel to engage directly with each firm. The panelists consisted of 2 season ticket holders to represent our patron base, as well as 3 city staff from various departments. And it was clearly stated in the request for proposals that contract award would be based solely on the points from phase 2, and at this point, phase 1 points would not be considered. So with that in mind, the rankings from phase 2 are as follows. DLS Events LLC did emerge as the top-ranked proposer through the evaluation process, which is why staff recommends that Council award this contract to DLS Events. And it is worth noting also that staff recently conducted a customer experience survey confirming these results, and I'm going to pass the presentation over to Margaret to talk about those details.
So it was brought to our attention. We knew that everybody had a lot of different opinions and they had ideas of which direction this should go. So with some guidance, we decided let's take this question straight to our season ticket holders. Currently, there are over 7,300 season ticket holders. These are people who purchase the whole package of the theater experience. That is 5 summer Broadway productions, May through September. We asked 10 basic and simple questions that we had everybody review, including our city attorney. They were multiple choice, check all that apply, rating, open-ended questions. I just wanted to share 3 of the top ones that we felt were most relevant to the evaluation. So when attending a performance at the Moonlight, do you typically purchase food on site? We did find that the majority was rarely, and that was concerning. We know that the concession stand at Moonlight is an important revenue generator for our services and business, and so the rarely and never were higher ranked. And we did have some that were always, but again, not as high. Another question we had was, what would enhance your food and beverage experience at the Moonlight? We gave them many options, but the top most popular one with over 50% was expanded menu selection. So we knew our season ticket holders were looking for more options. Another question was looking ahead, which of the following—
Going back, there was price or any other consideration? Was price given as one? I'm just curious.
Yes, it was.
Where does that show up on there? Is this, improved value?
Improved value pricing, and that was at 37%.
Okay.
So yes, that was an option. The last one was looking ahead, which of the following best reflects your perspective on future food and beverage service at the Moonlight?
And by the way, how many respondents did you have to the survey?
We had 282.
Very good. Thank you.
On this item, the response was explore proposals from alternative vendors, and that was close to 50%. So again, the survey reflected that people were looking for expansion, more choices, and exploring. So again, we felt this validated the need for opening it up, having those 6 vendors share what they had to offer, and again, coming to the conclusion. At this point, we do conclude that staff recommends approval and execution of a contract with DLS Events LLC, the top-ranked proposer, to provide concession services at the Moonlight Amphitheater.
Bless you. Okay, we do have several members of the public that wishes to be heard on this item, so we'll hear first from Rachel Beld and then from Casey, looks like Swinford.
Hi. Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Rachel Beld. I'm the President and CEO of the Vista Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I want to start by saying that my comments this evening are not about any specific vendor. The Chamber, we respect the work of city staff and the experience of the recommended vendor, absolutely. Our focus is on the process. While the RFP was reissued after community feedback, it did not include criteria related to local economic impact, things like local hiring, partnerships with Vista-based businesses, or reinvestment in our community. And these are real, measurable benefits that matter to our local economy. The city already applies local bidder preferences in certain low-bid contracts. And we believe there's an opportunity to explore how similar considerations could be incorporated into RFP-based procurements as well. As we look ahead, there may also be an opportunity to incorporate industry expertise into future evaluation panels, particularly for specialized services like food and beverage. And there may also be opportunities to better incorporate community and patron input into the future procurement processes, like regular surveys with continual feedback to existing vendors so they have an understanding of the community's preferences. We would respectfully ask that the council work with the chamber and the city city staff to explore a local bidder preference and procurement framework for future contracts. Many cities have found ways to do this while maintaining fair and competitive processes. And we want to be clear, we stand ready to support any vendor that's selected to serve the Moonlight or any other city facility. We welcome the opportunity to help them connect with local suppliers, local breweries, and other Vista businesses so that more of the economic benefit stays right here in our community. And speaking personally, as a Moonlight season ticket holder for over a decade, I also care deeply about the patron experience, including having quality and affordable options for families who attend our performances. The Moonlight is a treasured community asset, and decisions like this have both economic and community impact. So we appreciate your consideration and look forward to working together on strengthening this process moving forward. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next is Casey Swinford.
Good evening, and thank you all for your time. I'm really looking forward to taking a couple minutes to just tell you a little bit about DLS events and why we're very excited about this opportunity. We are a food and beverage company that has over 14 years of experience in our industry. Our roots are based right here in Southern California. Two of the venues, we operate 6 to 8 venues in the Southern California region. 2 of those venues are actually in San Diego County. One of those venues is owned by a city, and we work very closely with them, collaborate with them to make sure that we are supporting them, highlighting their venue, and definitely supporting them through any community efforts that they have. We, being a local community, we completely understand the impact that bringing a new concessionaire into these kinds of properties can have. And I just want to assure you that we are very committed with working locally to make sure that we are giving your fan base the best experience that we can. We're committed to working with local breweries, local farmers markets, restaurants, things like that to get our products, to make sure that we're offering, fresh, amazing local products at the fairest prices. We do want to make sure that the community is excited to come back and that they want to bring friends and family, for years and years to come. So thank you again for the opportunity to speak on DLS. And like I said, we are very excited for the potential opportunity to help grow your community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Councilmember Contreras.
Yeah, thank you to staff and everybody who participated in reviewing the different vendors. Yeah, for me, I really, and I've discussed this with city manager, want to see an agenda item come forward before the council for discussion about procurement in this process. I always believe that it's critically important to have in the formula something that designates a local preference. And my understanding is that this process does not include that, but I think it would be really good in the future just to have that, not to say that that would have changed the outcome of anything, but I do think that it's very, very important that we always look locally, and then we could also maybe define what local means as well in that discussion. So that's all I have on the matter. Thank you.
Councilmember Melendez.
Yes, thank you. Everyone hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Thanks for the discussion. Thank you, staff, for being responsive to the concerns from our vendors and those who participated. It's an exciting opportunity to be able to put forward your best and, not just, for the city to pick any random vendor, but for there to be a more of a competitive process. So I'm glad we were able to have that. I do believe that local matters, and I appreciate DSL events commitment to local procurement, potentially local hiring. I'm looking to work with the council to see what can we do to enhance the contract and ensure that there is that type of opportunity ensured in this agreement moving forward. And at the same time, really great work from city staff on surveying our customers. We're in a unique position, unlike many other cities, to own this type of venue. So we have to make really thoughtful business decisions. And in my personal business dealings, I really do believe local matters. So I want to inject that into this process as much as possible. And I appreciate the discussion.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell.
Yeah, staff, great job. I know this was a very quick turnaround that we had to make, and I appreciate the chamber and everything that they did, as well as the input from the public. And it was just a tremendous amount of hard work that I know that went into this in a very short window of time. I like the idea of continuous and ongoing surveys. The reality is also that many people may not fill them out if they just did one a month ago. So making sure that we stagger them maybe yearly or at the beginning and end of each season just to get an idea, I think would be a good opportunity for that. I'm very open to the discussion about what a future RFP looks like as far as local preference, but I want to be very clear before we get into that. I'm not trying to create a point system outside of the city of Vista. To go from Vista to collar cities to the county, I think would be way too much. And correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe we have that in any of our other RFP processes, right? So that would just be my thought on that. Beyond that, you said it was 282 patrons, and it was sent out to all 7,300 and change. Okay, and that's actually a good response rate for a very short window to work in. Yeah, that's it. I mean, I appreciate the hard work on this. You know, the whole situation that took place prior, I understand the concern that was there, but I feel like the best decision moving forward was made. So I congratulate DLS on that, and I look forward to seeing you in the Moonlight this upcoming season, and I will be happy to support this, but I do look forward to that future discussion on RFPs.
Councilmember Fox.
Thank you. Yeah, I want to echo the gratitude to staff for such a quick turnaround, and I'm sure that was not easy to do. And to the chamber for all their advocacy for local Vista businesses. That was, very impressive. You also had a lot of responses very quickly and stuff to us, so really appreciate that. My questions are, what is the duration of the contract? I'm sure it's in there. I just don't recall.
Sure. So the contract is designed to be in effect through December 31st of this year, with options to renew for up to 4 additional one-year terms. So for a maximum term of almost 5 years.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And then, and I think that was one thing that we I think everyone kind of was on the same page of it would be nice to have local bidder preference on some of these kinds of things. But I'm also under the impression that changing those criteria mid RFP between the two would have also been maybe legally troublesome. Right. So, but I also heard that it may not have affected the outcome very much in this case because the number one bidder was so far ahead. So, great job on that one. And I also want to echo that the excitement to be able to work with you and to potentially get to try some this summer. And so, with that, do we have a motion on the floor yet?
I don't think so.
Okay, well then I'd like to make a motion to accept staff's recommendations on item D1.
Deputy Mayor.
I will second it, and I forgot to ask this, and I don't believe there were. Were there any Vista businesses that applied for this RFP?
Yes, there were 2, Bread and Cheese Eatery and then Stave and Nail Brewing. They're commonly associated with Prey Brewing.
Is Bread and Cheese local to Vista?
They have a Vista business license. Could you clarify by exactly what you mean by local?
Is there brick and mortar in Vista?
It is not.
So we only had one brick and mortar located in Vista apply?
That is correct.
Okay. I will still second.
I just want to thank the chamber because the chamber reached out and advocated on behalf of one of its members, did a good job. We heard from a lot of chamber members, and because of the chamber's advocacy, we did go back to the drawing board, redesign the RFP. It meant a lot to me, and I'm sure it did to the other members of the council, to hear from other small business owners. As a small business owner in the city myself, I also want to make sure that we're always giving local business owners a preference. I did hear from our local owner representative of Chick-fil-A, and they were interested. I guess they're going to be our interim operator for a few weeks or months, and they're actually interested in if there's a future RFP, and we're pretty excited about it. And there's not a lot of variety at Chick-fil-A, but the food's really good, and I don't mind eating there several times a week. So definitely would want to consider them, even though they're a national brand. Definitely. Well, the deputy mayor asked a good question about Sunday shows. I don't have the answer to that one. At any rate, I am moved by the survey of the season ticket holders, and ideally we would have a meal offering there that people would buy. There's a lot of families that price is going to be probably the central barrier, but we don't want a lack of selection or the menu to be the barrier. Bread and Cheese has done a good job, and they've been a good member of the business community, and we've appreciated the partnership. But I was most moved by seeing the number of customers, season ticket holders, who said they wish that there was more variety and they might purchase a meal there more frequently. It's not a revenue issue to me, to the city of Vista. I'm not sure if the revenue is going to be tremendously different. Hopefully it will be, and that'll be a sign of your success and that this is the right decision. But to me, whether or not we have a vibrant program and we're growing, and we have been at the Moonlight, and thank you to all of our Moonlight family that's here, it is very important for the future of the arts that they're self-sustaining. And so just like with our Wave Water Park, the Moonlight really needs to stand on its own. And lately it's been doing that. Congratulations, that's amazing. Any year that the Moonlight can generate 100% of its operating and not need too much of a subsidy. Did we have a subsidy last year from the Moonlight Cultural Foundation? Or did they bring it all?
Yes, the Moonlight Cultural Foundation did make a substantial donation last year.
Well, the fact that we can cover it between contributions and operating revenues is a big deal. The fact that there's no net cost to the city of Vista ultimately is a long-term responsibility for the council to create a situation and a scenario where can endure for the next 30 and 50 years because it didn't require a subsidy from the taxpayers. So I lament that we can't keep Bread and Cheese. I know that this has been a significant part of their business model, and I just want to give voice to that. That's disappointment. But I didn't get to taste the DLS food, but I was told it's very, very good. And I think the Bread and Cheese product is good too, but maybe there's not enough variety in it. So we thank the Bread and Cheese operators for their years of service to the city, and we wish them well. Councilmember Melendez, did you have one more thought?
Yes, thank you. I support the motion, and I really do appreciate the vendor being here today and expressing a commitment to providing local opportunities. In looking at the agreement, there isn't anything specifically outlined that would assure that commitment. But I do see under management, there's a number of items related to the concessionaire services and how they should be managed, priced, and other details. I'm wondering if the council would be willing to include a friendly amendment to, include in this contract that the management of this concessionaire service will include local purveyors or collaboration with Vista businesses, and to include that commitment explicitly in the contract.
Do the options, whose options are they? Are they our option to renew for 1 year at a time, or is it the operator's option? In other words, do we have the ability to end the agreement at the end of this year?
Yes, we have that ability.
Okay. Deputy Mayor O'Donnell.
As that was not part of the RFP process, can we do that? Add that into the contract?
In the RFP, we gave a sample contract, and that's what we're using. It's possible. I mean, the vendor's here. It's a voluntary, but I don't. If the vendor decides not to agree to that, I don't think we can force it.
And we'd have to bring it back on a future council evening to adopt the final language. So may I suggest to my colleagues that perhaps we're going to give that direction to you and we don't have to renew. So we want you to pursue a relationship with our Vista. It's very, very important. Please connect with Rachel behind you. Become a member of the chamber. Become a member of the business community here. Hire locally, buy locally. That means a lot to us. We know you will. You'll want to prove that to us. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and to Councilmember Melendez's point, 1 year from now, when is it 1 year? We review this.
It'll expire December 31st, and we can bring it back with an amendment to the contract to extend it and include these provisions.
I am open and willing to have the discussion at that time.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Seeing no other discussion, please cast your votes. Councilmember Melendez, how do you vote?
Aye.
That item is approved unanimously. I can find my word there. All right, that'll bring us to item D2. Thank you very much to our Parks and Rec team. It's not Parks and Rec anymore. What do we call it? Community Recreation. They took parks out of it. Recreation and Community Services. There we go. That's right. Recreation, Community Services, and Parks. I'm going to add parks back in. Okay, our next item is regarding an amendment to the Public Employees Retirement System contract. If any members of the public wish to speak on this item, they may indicate so by using the raise your hand feature, pressing *9, or submitting a request to speak card. Speakers will be called upon after the presentation. Our Human Resources Director, Natalie Jacobs, will introduce the item.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening to you, Deputy Mayor, and members of the City Council. The item before you tonight requests an adoption of a resolution of intention to approve an amendment to the city's safety CalPERS contract. That's the California Public Employees Retirement System. The amendment implements a provision of the labor agreement with the association, the Firefighters Association, as well as the Vista Chief Officers Association, approved by council on June 24th, 2025, and will designate eligible fire prevention staff as local firefighters pursuant to Government Code Section 20434, thus aligning their retirement classification with the duties they perform. The city has worked with CalPERS to prepare draft contract amendment language, which is included in your agenda packet. Therefore, tonight's action is the first of two steps in the process required by CalPERS to amend the contract. Adoption of the resolution of intention will formally declare council's intent to approve the amendment and will set a public hearing, which is the second step of the process, which is not to occur less than 20 days following tonight's action. That public hearing is scheduled for May 12th, 2026. And at that meeting, the City Council will have the opportunity to receive public input and consider adoption of the ordinance approving the contract amendment. Staff's recommendation tonight would be for council to approve the adoption of this resolution of intention. And that does conclude my report this evening, and staff is available for any questions you may have.
Very good, and I want to welcome our Vista firefighters and their association, and Michael Saldana is here to say a few words. Come on down. By the way, you have beautiful handwriting. The best I've seen in a while.
My mother would be proud. Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and members of the City Council, both here and in the cloud. I'm here tonight on behalf of the Vista Firefighters Association, IFF, Local 4107. I want to take a moment before this item is acted upon to offer our sincere thanks both to this council and to city staff. The VFFA members that are a part of the city's Fire Prevention Bureau do critical work. They are credentialed, sworn public safety professionals, and for too long, the classification structure they worked under did not fully reflect that reality. The safety designation that was memorialized through our latest agreed upon MOU is a meaningful acknowledgement of who these members are, what they do, and the unseen risks as well as exposures that they are confronted with throughout the course of their work that is done to keep the residents of Vista safe. So to this council, thank you for seeing the need and for being willing to act on it. Your willingness to work collaboratively with the VFFA to get this right reflects the kind of labor management relationship that makes the department stronger and our brothers and sisters safer. I also want to acknowledge specifically Natalie Jacobs as well as her team. I am certain that the work required to bring a CalPERS contract amendment before this body is not simple. I'm sure it involves, as you know, coordinating between the city, state retirement system, and our association, navigating layers upon layers of very specific procedural steps that require a lot of attention to detail and a whole lot of patience. Once again, Natalie and her team tackled the contract change thoroughly and professionally. On behalf of the entire membership of Local 4107, we see that work, we appreciate it, and we want the record to reflect our gratitude. We rise in support of this item and urge the council's approval tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and we appreciate VFFA bringing to our attention that our fire inspectors face exposure to cancer-causing agents during their work and other hazards that had not been previously considered and are leading causes of death for firefighters. So we thank you for that, and I appreciate the council recognizing the urgency of classifying those firefighters as public safety. And I would also join you in encouraging adoption of this. Councilmember Contreras.
Was that a motion, Mayor?
Yes.
Okay, I'll go ahead and second your motion. I just want to say thank you to my colleagues for taking up this discussion and for VFFA and our fire and rescue letting us know, some of the gaps that we have. And just thank you to staff for making sure, and city manager, that we're able to move forward with this. So it's a long time coming, and I will gladly second the motion. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell.
I echo all the same sentiments. VFFA, our firefighters, paramedics, our inspectors, the entire team, and our fire department and first responders, you all do incredible work, and it is incumbent upon all of us to thank you every day for the service that you provide keeping our city safe. Natalie, excellent job. If there's anything I know about the VFFA, they probably made this a very easy, smooth, and seamless process. If anybody doesn't know that, it's a joke. But no, I appreciate the work that's gone into this, because it is a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes to make things like this happen, and it's the right thing to do. So thank you for all of that. I will happily provide a third, although it's not necessary, and turn the mic over.
Councilmember Fox.
Thank you. I just wanted to echo the gratitude. Thank you for being a great partner to our city, and we're happy to keep working with you on this. And of course, it's a commitment we made to you, so of course we're going to support it. So thank you.
Councilmember Melendez.
Thank you to staff for executing this agreement and ensuring that we have positive relationships with all of our labor groups. And in particularly to VFFA, thank you for fighting not only for public health and safety, but for your own members. We wouldn't be able to do what we do without you, so we appreciate you.
Very good. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes.
I vote aye.
Thank you. That motion is adopted unanimously. That'll bring us to item D3, our third item regarding pension funding strategies to address unfunded actuarial liabilities. Here to introduce the item is our Finance Director, Mike Sylvia.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, Council. This item is actually an update from February 2022 pension workshop, and it's consistent with our current City Council goals, which is to revisit this topic at least every 5 years. We are a little bit ahead of the game at this point, and that is by design because we've had significant market appreciation in the 115 Trust, but also, to no one's surprise, a lot of near-term volatility given the heightened geopolitical situation right now. But really, this is a discussion on pension funding strategies, and we're going to present a couple of scenarios focusing on how the city can more proactively manage its unfunded pension liabilities, which now are the city's single largest liability, as well as the long-term costs associated with it. And of course, the city has been consistent with funding its current required CalPERS contributions. However, the presentation will show is going to go well beyond the status quo and show these scenarios that will, at least the plan is to reduce volatility in the escalation of pension expenses over the next 10 years, during which we expect the unfunded pension liabilities to hit their apex. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Mike Meyer. He's the Vice President of NHA Advisors, and NHA is our municipal advisor, and their firm worked with us last year in our successful refunding of the lease revenue bonds last spring. So Mike, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Mike, and good evening, Mayor Franklin, honorable council members. Nice to be with you all. As Mike mentioned, we did work with the city last year on the bond issuance and the credit rating upgrade. We also have 8 practice groups that we do consulting work for. Pension and fiscal sustainability is a group that I manage down here in our San Diego office. So we've worked with over 100 CalPERS members across the state, helping to implement strategies and policy. Overall, the architecture of the presentation, we have a few slides on how CalPERS works. We get into some historical trends, look at some projections, and then we're going to get into some of the strategies that Mike mentioned earlier, as well as some final observations before opening up to questions. So in terms of the executive summary, the city right now has a $90 million unfunded liability with CalPERS. So this is your debt that you have with CalPERS. We'll get into how that UAL is defined in a couple of slides. There is some good news. CalPERS has beat their investment target the last couple of years. So when the new actuarial reports get released this fall, we do expect that UAL to go down by at least 10 million or so. The city's been extremely proactive in building up a trust, and the Section 115 trust that currently stands at 25 million. So we do have some analysis in this presentation that will hopefully depict how the city can look to use that trust to better derive savings as well as enhanced budget predictability while still maintaining the reserve policy guidelines. The city makes 2 payments to CalPERS each year, the normal cost, which is the cost to keep up with current employees, and in a perfect world, that's the only cost you'd ever pay. The challenge is that CalPERS often does not meet their assumptions and their expectations, and so namely their investment target. And so over time, what happens is there's an unfunded gap that develops, and so that is visually depicted here in the chart to the right. The accrued liability, that $357 million, that's how much you would need in your retirement account to be fully funded. The actual value of the assets you have in that account is $267 million. So that difference there is shown in the light gray. That's your debt with CalPERS. They charge you a 6.8% interest rate on that debt. It's a large number. It's a large number for most agencies across the state. They don't force you to pay it back all at once. They do amortize it like a loan or a mortgage. The challenge is that it's not just one mortgage with one level payment over 30 years. It's actually a combination of 60 different mortgages. Some have 3-year terms, some have 20, some are positive, some are negative. And when you stack them all together, you get this really irregular payment shape. And that's really the biggest financial challenge right now facing most agencies, is the way that's amortized. And we'll get into how that looks in a few slides. So 25 years ago, UALs didn't exist. The stock market was earning double-digit returns. think in 2004, we'll look at it on the next slide, CalPERS was fully funded. The challenge is that over the past 2 decades, they haven't met their investment targets. So they assumed they would earn over 8% back in the early 2000s. Their 20-year average is 6.7%. In addition to not meeting those investment targets, they've also changed their assumptions a number of times. So namely their discount rate, which is their assumed rate of return, inflation is going up, mortality rate changes, so lots of different actuarial assumption changes that have a direct impact on the UAL. This chart here on 8 goes back about 22 years, and in light blue there shows the annual returns for CalPERS. And the big takeaway here is that it's very volatile. So while they expect to earn about 6.8, 7% or so, depending on the year, their actual returns are quite volatile. And anytime they beat their expectation, you're going to see a direct decrease to the city's UAL, and anytime they miss their mark, you'll see an increase. You can see there the Great Recession in 2008 and 2009. They had a year where they were close to negative 24%. And on the flip side, if you look at 2021, they had a year where they were over 21%. In addition to having to react to their actual returns, they've also changed their assumption several times throughout the last 20 years, and that's shown in orange there. If you look way to the left, the discount rate was above 8% in the early 2000s. And if you fast forward to right now, it's down to 6.8%. And anytime they change that assumption, it means they expect that they're going to earn less on their investments, and it means that employers have to pick up the difference. Last slide in this first section. You may have heard that CalPERS went through their asset liability management study last fall. This is something they do every 4 years, and they basically look at all their different assumptions that go into their calculations. Not any huge earth-shattering news that came out of it. I know a lot of folks were worried they would ratchet down the discount rate. They did not do that. So really big takeaway, just slight increases to inflation and wage growth assumptions. And the impacts really won't be known until this fall. So the new reports come out this fall. That'll really quantify how all these changes to the assumptions trickle through. Slide 11 is a 7-year history of the city's UAL balance as well as the funded ratio. And so in the gray bars, that shows your UAL balance. You can see it's directly tied to CalPERS return. So if you look at 2021, you see a big drop in the UAL, down from 77 to 53 million. If you look below that, it's due to the fact they earned over 22% that year. The very next year, the UAL shoots up to 89 million, and that's due to the fact that they lost 7.5%. UAL's hovered around 90 million the last few years, and then we do project it to drop when those new reports come out this fall. And then in orange there, you can see the funded ratio that you have with CalPERS, and then above that in teal is the effective funded ratio when we include the city's 115 trust, which is quite strong in our opinion. I'd say statewide, the average for funded ratio right now is around in the mid-70s to high 70s. So the fact that you're at 80% and then in the mid-80s with the 115 trust bodes quite well. Slide 12, quick comparison to some of your neighbors. I think it's tough to compare apples to apples because cities are different sizes. The UAL is different size and nominal terms. So the best way to compare is really on funded ratio. City of Vista is at the top here. As you can see on the right side, this does include the 115 trust assets. Also below that in the line, we wanted to compare how large that balance is in terms of how it relates to the overall UAL. And you can see there the city has about a quarter of its UAL in its 115 trust, which is quite a bit higher than some of your neighbors that are under 10%. Slide 13 is probably, I think, one of the most eye-catching charts in the presentation because it really depicts how big this challenge has been over the last decade and how challenging it will be over the next 5 or 6 years for most agencies. In orange, there is the normal cost that the city's been making, as well as the projections. You can see that grows in a pretty linear and regular fashion. And then on top of that, that's the light blue. That's the combination of all these mortgages that I mentioned earlier. It's how that UAL gets amortized. And from a budget impact standpoint, if you look at 2018, the city's paying about $6 million. Fast forward to this fiscal year, you're paying $12 million. So it's doubled in the matter of 8 years. And then it's going to continue to rise to close to $15 million by the end of the decade. And we highlighted there in the red triangle how much in cumulative cost that is above the current levels. And it's about $25 million. So when we looked at optimizing some of our analysis, we're really targeting that triangle and seeing how much of those costs can we bring down by using the city's 115 trust. So before we get into the analysis, just a little bit of history on the 115 trust. This was created in fiscal year 17-18. There were contributions made in 18 as well as fiscal year 22. You can see that down in the orange at the bottom. And then it's had a lot of good years of investment returns. I think since inception, it's been above 7%, and it's grown to $25.4 million, as you can see on the right side of that chart. The city has a very strong policy. This was noted by the credit rating agency that looked at the bond last year. There's some quotes there talking about the limited near-term risk tied to pensions. I will say, having looked at a lot of rating reports, this is pretty rare. I would say most cities have negative or weak marks related to pensions, but they did look at that policy, and it was very helpful for the credit rating upgrade. And just to remind the council, that policy basically has a goal of maintaining 100 to 150% of your annual pension cost in that trust. So right now that equates to about $12 million would be 100%, and 18 or so million would be 150%. So the two scenarios we wanted to look at was how the city could use some of those trust resources to eliminate that mountain peak in payments that we looked at a couple slides before, but not withdrawing all the money. So making sure to maintain money in the trust so that you're still meeting the policy. And so what we wanted to do was look at a scenario where we brought it all the way down to the minimum policy target. So essentially using half of the trust assets to offset that peak and alleviate the burden on the general fund. And then scenario 2 is using a little bit less of the trust. So use about 25% of the trust and making sure that about 18 million remains after the end of the withdrawal period. In terms of the assumption we use for investment earnings, we use 6% to be conservative, but as I mentioned earlier, the historical average has been over 7%. Again, scenario 1 is using about half of the trust, and this bar chart here is the exact same chart we looked at earlier, but it does not include normal costs, so this is just the UAL amortization. And those blue bars are the way that CalPERS will force the city to pay back the debt. Everything above the blue dotted line would be paid for by the 115 trust assets. So really allows the city to maintain payments at that level around $6 million, which will enhance budget predictability. The benefit of that each year is about $2.2 million on average of cost avoidance. The second scenario is using less of the trust, but even with using about a quarter of the trust, you're still able to bring those payments down quite a bit. As you can see in the purple line, that smoothing level is a little bit above 7 million, and the average annual cost reduction is about 1.8 million. Slide 19 compares both scenarios. So again, the concept of smoothing the peak is a quite common strategy being used by other agencies, really a way to address that peak in payments that's upcoming and allow you to maintain the general fund expenditures at a fairly flat level versus 2026. overall, the cumulative cost reduction is close to that $25 million target that we talked about earlier under both of these options. Excuse me. So, to wrap up some of our observations, the city has been extremely proactive in getting ahead of these rising costs. The current balance in the trust is one of the highest we've seen amongst the clients we work with. I know the city does take advantage of another option that CalPERS offers in terms of prepaying the UAL every July as opposed to going monthly. So that's about $250,000 of extra savings that you take advantage of each year. Again, just to reiterate, your current policy is strong. It was part of why you received the credit rating upgrade last year. I think from our standpoint, using some of the trust resources is justified. You are above policy right now, and I think what the analysis shows is that you can achieve quite a bit of benefit there while still maintaining those strong balances. So while the analysis did show withdrawals in fiscal year 27, I think from our standpoint, if you do have resources to address those costs already, it could be worthwhile to pause making a decision, kind of see how things play out with the current volatility in the world. CalPERS returns have been all over the place this year. Right now, they are beating their mark, which is good news, but a few weeks ago, they were well under the mark. In addition to that unknown, the results of the ALM impacts won't be known until this fall. So in talking with staff, we thought it would be a good time later this fall to kind of reassess and just see if these numbers are, how close they are to actuals. We won't know that. So again, the way CalPERS works, as you saw earlier, you are reacting to their returns. So just to give you an idea on how that UAL could change, even if they have a flat year where they're at 0%, that would drive the UAL up by about 15 million. So you're in a good place with a very healthy balance, but the challenge isn't going away anytime soon, and it's always good to be prepared for that continued volatility. And then just very lastly, NHA is not an actuary, and we also are not an investment advisor. So you do have an investment advisor that is part of the 115 Trust. We encourage staff that, once you have conceptually a strategy of how you might start to withdraw funds from the trust, we would highly encourage you to communicate that with your investment advisor because it might change how they recommend investing the 115 Trust. So with that, I will turn it back to Mike.
Yeah, so, Mike obviously detailed a couple of the scenarios that are possible. There are many other ones, but we wanted to provide a couple of samples to council, get your feedback on a policy level, and then, as I said, staff would move forward with actual appropriation of Section 115 trust funds at a future date per council direction.
So my math says that CalPERS had a rate of return of 9.35% over the last 7 years, where we had 7.2%. So they're more aggressive in their investment strategy. Their 20-year rate of return has been 6.7%, but they've kicked our butts in the last 7 years. So they are able to be even more aggressive in their fund than we are in our 115 Trust, right?
We could certainly be more aggressive. At this point, the 115 Trust is a 50-50 split between equities and fixed income. That is more on the aggressive side than less aggressive side for agencies 115 Trust, but certainly there are some agencies that might go 60-40 or 70-30 might be the most extreme, more heavily weighted equities.
If we moved our whole 115 Trust into CalPERS, we'd make $500,000 more a year than we're making right now, if those numbers over the last 7 years held up. But it would also hamstring our cash flow, because once we move it over, this is what I'm trying to understand, once we move it over, we can't use it for current payments.
Correct. Think of it this way. If you had a mortgage and you had a $20,000 savings account, you wanted to pay down your mortgage, obviously those payments are going to affect the back end. Well, if the next year or 2 years down the road, you didn't replenish your savings account and you lost your job, that would obviously create a liquidity issue.
Yeah, that doesn't stop the monthly payment from coming due, even though you prepaid it. Yeah, that's the issue. I'm inclined to be more aggressive in, what did you say, 50% or 75%? Or did you say 25% or 50%?
Currently, it's 50/50, and of the 50% equity, 1/3 of that is two-thirds is domestic equity, and 1/3 is international.
And I'm actually not referring to the investment strategy, but I'm referring to the amount that that we want to move out of the 115 and into the CalPERS fund. Because we have significant reserves now, I don't think it's as important for us to hold those reserves to make our current obligations. Obviously, we need to maintain our current emergency reserves so that if we have a downturn, we can meet obligations, but $500,000 a year is a pretty good number to pick up if we can. So I think you presented us two options. It was either 25 or 50, or it was 50 and 75 for how much to use out of the 115 to take care of the UAL.
That's right, yeah. So the two options we provided was basically using 115 trust balance to bring down the amount to within policy, so the 150% or the 100%. By mechanically, the way it would work is that you'd be maintaining the balance in the 115, and then as you hit those peak years, you would be pulling money out so that the general fund isn't making up that whole payment. I guess one clarification question: when you say move the money to CalPERS, there's two things that come to mind, because CalPERS does offer 115 trusts. They're both much more conservatively invested than their normal portfolio, where they try to earn 6.8%. So one fund targets 5.4 and the other targets 4.9, and they've actually significantly underperformed other 115 trust providers. The 6.8 is their target. So if you were to do that, you would be doing an ADP, which is an additional discretionary payment. That money would go out the door. You would, you could basically choose which of those mortgages to pay off, and you get credit at 6.8%. That's not guaranteeing that they're going to earn 6.8, but that's how it works. The one downside is that money's gone, so it's not in the trust. Right. I would say the one benefit of the 115 trust is you do have control over how that's invested. So if you are looking to invest more aggressively, I know your provider does have options that are even more risky than CalPERS. If you want to go, let's say, above 50% equity, I mean, you could go, 100% stocks, right? If you wanted to do that. So I just wanted to make that clear, that the local control and the investment flexibility, in addition to kind of having that rainy day fund to deal with the future what ifs, is one of the benefits of the 115, but you can do the ADP as well. Yeah. It would just look a little different when you send it to CalPERS.
Yeah, I still think CalPERS is being pretty conservative, though. I mean, obviously, they're managing all of our state employees' pension funds, so I just like to see us get as close as possible to what CalPERS is earning. And I don't think their strategy is overly risky. They're not earning what the S&P is. They're still what are they? 0.7 of a point below the S&P's return for the same period of time. So they're doing pretty good. But the closer we could get to that average market performance would be really good. So I'd like to see us get closer. I mean, we have now. This is the upside of building a reserve fund. Is we can do better with our investments, and I hope you guys see the incredible potential. If we ever could build like $100 million fund in our 115, which we're at 25 right now, it's not an unreasonable thing. We could actually make our pension funds on our gains every year. We could, over the long run, we could fund it in perpetuity just on the gains. That's the power of saving and investing, and it's something that government doesn't do. But it's like we look at all these governments in other parts of the world. They have these sovereign wealth funds, and they are making money for their citizens, solving problems that taxpayers have by investment gains. There's other ways other than taxation to make money for government. And we're seeing that with our 115 trust fund. So kudos to staff. I mean, I think, were you here when we created the 115? Was that?
No, that was created a
Well,
couple years before.
it was a good idea. I'm glad we did it. Councilmember Contreras.
Yeah, I'm really thankful, that bringing more alignment and transparency to our reserves and ensuring that we got a return on investment was a huge priority of mine. So I'm thankful that the council, when I, was advocating for these recommendations, that, we were able to move in that direction. And thank you, Mike, for shepherding this. I do believe that I would rather have full control over Section 115 trust rather than hand it over to CalPERS. But I think in this conversation, we're just talking about paying down this peak in our UAL. So do I have this correct? What you're looking for from council today is some direction, and that direction would be reviewed with our investment advisor that has the Section 115 trust, and then that would come back to council for further review, or can you just explain that a little bit more?
Sure. We've already had some preliminary discussions with the investment advisor, with the idea being we can almost bifurcate the current single trust fund amount of $25 million, and if it were council's pleasure to be more aggressive with a piece of it and less aggressive with another, kind of have a core reserve and then another one that could be invested a bit more aggressively. That's one strategy. And then specific to the scenarios, though, they're just samples for how we could flatten out those unusually, large growing UAL amounts to not create a crowding out factor in the annual or biannual budget process. And obviously, if those appropriations were needed, those specific appropriations for the affected years would be part of the budget review process and council approval. Did I answer your question?
Yes, but I'm wondering, so the direction that we provide today, I mean, for me, I just really need to get more information from our investment advisors regarding the strategy that we might recommend to you today to follow. And so, it's almost like providing direction and then receiving information back on that direction and then having it come back to council for a final decision. I would not be okay with providing any kind of finalized decision at this point with having a gap in the review of that beyond this preliminary review, right? An in-depth review from our investment advisors. So, I do want to pay down and flatten out that steep peak on the UAL. So I just don't know at this point between, having these two different options of 100%, maintaining 100% of annual costs for the minimum policy target versus 150 annual costs for the maximum policy target. This difference between 50 and 25% usage of the 115 trust. I have no idea, which one of those is better or where on the sliding scale. So, the direction that I would want to provide is that we look at this, both these scenarios as one part of the spectrum of 50% and the other 25%, and just have some more information from our investment advisor come back to us with that information, and then we could at that time finalize the direction that we want to go. I have a lot of concern about the instability of the domestic and global market at this point. And I am concerned that the market fundamentals are not making sense as compared to the reality of the situation that we are all experiencing. And, I'm really concerned, and, I've brought this up many times where, I'm just severely concerned that the numbers that we're getting from the federal government are completely unreliable. And I don't know what that does to the market mechanics and the projections of what our fund looks like to see how much wiggle room we really have to tackle that UAL. So just to summarize again, my personal direction would be that we get some more information from our investment advisors with the Section 115 trust, looking at between 50% and 25% of the trust and just getting more information as to what they think about that. And I think with the timeline that we have set forth, I'm just really concerned about 2026. I think, maybe in 2027, 2028, there might be some more, but I hope there's more stability. But that's where I'm at. Hopefully that makes sense.
It does. I would, one other item I was going to offer to the council too is there are other cities' reserve policies will outright commit portions of their year-end fund balance to their 115 trust. Historically, the city of Vista hasn't done that. I mean, the $5 million or so that initially established it in 2017 was sort of the seed money, and then when we did the analysis that we did, I mentioned in 2022, that was the impetus in the beginning of consolidating reserve funds and moving that large $12 million over a couple of payments to the 115 trust, which, as it turned out, ended up being opportune timing because obviously the market appreciation since then has been solid. But to address part of your concern, council member, part of how that could be addressed is if council were interested in modifying the reserve policy to outwardly commit either a nominal dollar amount or a percentage of the year-end fund balance to be sent, once we have the unaudited numbers that we present with the fourth quarter report, we can immediately send that to the 115 trust for investment. I don't know if that's something that would soothe some of your concern, but it would certainly increase the trust size and offset when we had funding the utilization in future years.
Yeah, because right now our policy, we just look at the general reserve and not the 115 for the 30 to 35% reserve, right?
Well, there's two measures. So
Right.
yeah, the general reserve is the 30
Right.
to 35, and with a target of around 32 and a half.
Right.
Council had the additional allocations last fall, so we're at 32.7 or something like that. But there is the second measure of the 115 trust, which is 1 year to 1.5 years total cost, so both the normal cost and the UAL. Obviously, we can see in the presentation with those peaks coming from the UAL that 100 to 150% of the total cost, that range is shifting from a nominal dollar standpoint. And so this utilizing this would help us sort of control the top end of that range.
Yeah, I think it would be really fruitful for council to have a discussion about some kind of a sliding scale with the 115 trust and putting some more funding towards that. So let me ask you this. Again, I am just so concerned about market fundamentals being unrealistic right now. If we were to delay smoothing out the UAL peak, do you have any concerns that we would have potentially less funding, less dollars to smooth that out if we were to wait to make that decision?
Well, first I'd have to dust off my crystal ball, but
after you do that,
our preliminary numbers that we're still working on for fiscal 26-27, year 2 of our current operating budget, they are showing us so far that we wouldn't need that first year's contribution. The 26-27 resources, we'd be able to cover that payment. And as Mike was saying, that will give us a little more time to see how the new ALM process that CalPERS does once every 4 years, how it shakes out in the actuarial reports that we get in late summer to provide a little bit more of a runway. to plan, especially going into the next 2-year budget, next winter and early spring.
Okay, so it seems like there is not necessarily a rush to do this now. This is just being presented to council so that we get it in our brains, because it's a very difficult topic to dissect, digest, and then provide feedback on. But okay, well then my direction that I personally give stands in that I would want, it sounds like we have some additional time to review this. It's a big decision. And I think it would be prudent for the council to get some more information from our investment advisor for our Section 115 trust. So I'll leave it to the rest of my council to see what they have to say, but that's my personal direction at this point.
Okay, and Mr. Jim Kelly wanted to be heard on this item too. Mr. Kelly? Apologize, I didn't see your card sitting here. I would have called on you earlier, forgive me.
Did not have the benefit of this report, but one thing I would like to say is that the S&P return over the last 5 years is 13%, almost double what they're doing. And they have you have 50% of your money in treasuries, basically, which doesn't even keep up with inflation for the most part. So that was this was my first few seconds here. But basically, the underfunding of pension plans is nothing new. Corporations have decided that this pension program didn't work. And so most of them have gone to 401ks. And you can see that the state of California hasn't done you any good for the most part. They're the ones, your problem is because of them, not because of you, their management of the funds. And I'm recommending that the city council establish an advisory board to help the city members, council, decide on such a board. I was on a board for the Palomar College 20 years ago, and I think there should be some kind of a board to do that. I know there's a board, I talked to John about the investments of the city, but I think there should be some kind of a board that maybe is responsible for helping you understand pension responsibility, since it's the largest, like they said, the largest problem you have. I think what you might want to consider moving to a 401k kind of program. I work for the Palomar, for Maricosta College, and they have a plan that's a 401k-like plan. That could allow for employees to move their money over there, and you can control your problem with regards to the state of California. You have the responsibility for all of the past, present, and future employees, that their pension will be there for them. And if the state continues to, I believe, mismanage their investments to the point where it continues to impact the city locally, they don't care. It's the state of California. They don't care what the city happens. You have an excellent city manager. I've spoken to him before, and I believe that management of financial matters should be more local and not at some state level who doesn't really care about what your budget has to say. So, thank you.
Very good, thank you very much. I will point out we do have an investment advisory committee, and it's made up of several prominent local investment advisors, and they do meet regularly, and we get.
Well, they haven't done you much good.
Well, and I would point out too, and you make a good point. So I want to point out for the benefit of the public that California's public agency investment laws don't allow us to invest in the same way that I invest my retirement portfolio, and that you do too. For me, I put a lot of my money in the SP 500 index and leave it alone. And if I don't sell it and panic when the market's in trouble, I'm doing pretty good when it recovers, as it is right now, at least for the short time being. But we would love to see the ability to for the long run. Unfortunately, we've had agencies like Orange County that went bankrupt by being too aggressive. And that's never what we want to be on the wrong end of. So, we have a duty to preserve capital that is much greater than the apology I'd have to make to my wife if I So it's, you have to weigh in, why do we have money in treasuries? I hate that too. But you have to weigh capital preservation with, in the public agency. I don't like it either, but I found that out 14 years ago, that the public law after Orange County doesn't allow us much flexibility with how we invest. One of the only places we get more flexibility is in this 115 trust fund, which is exactly why I wanted to create it. And I tell you what, getting to 7% when a lot of our investments are sub 2% look like a pretty good deal. So, Councilmember, Deputy Mayor O'Donnell.
Y'all want to invest in crypto?
No.
It's about as aggressive as you can get. I know we're not allowed to legally, so I was just joking. Okay, so we're kind of all over on this one because I would have, in the beginning of this conversation, leaned toward option 2. But I guess my question is, so the gap in funding comes out of the general fund?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, there's not a true gap. It's just, it's increasing, at an exponential rate. And when we presented the two scenarios, they're not necessarily mutually exclusive. They could be an operating range similar to what we have with, our two components of reserve policies.
So I guess the information I would want to know, and if we don't need to make a decision tonight, I'm fine getting more information on this because the value of the dollar is down 40 cents since 2015, 26 cents just since 2020. And so would it behoove us to spend more upfront, knowing that we're going to have larger or less obligation on our reserves and on our general fund in the future because the power of the dollar will go down, right? And so is it better to have more at that point? I know you don't have a crystal ball.
Well, no. It's funny because Mike and I were actually talking about this earlier today. It's when interest rates were much, much lower and agencies could issue pension obligation bonds, many agencies would issue bonds for their entire UAL. That works great if the market timing works out well. But you've got to remember, you then have debt service on that POB issue, and if CalPERS misses, all of a sudden, if a 2022 happens and they have a negative 7% return, where you were 100% funded, you don't control that. You now have debt service and a UAL payment. And so in a smaller scale, sure, council could give us direction to say, hey, take 15 of the 25 million and send it to CalPERS and do an ADP. And if the timing works out well, that'll be great. If it doesn't, it won't be as great. And what we lose there is the liquidity if things aren't so great going forward. And what we saw on the chart is what we know today. I should probably emphasize all of the numbers that you saw over that 10-year period, they will not be accurate. They're accurate today, but the course we're proposing to chart is a more moderate approach rather than doing the example that I mentioned to the mayor about taking your savings account and paying down your mortgage because you lose the liquidity.
Yeah, it also seems like these are structured very similar to student loan debt in the different type of payments all across the spectrum on the different loan balances you might have. If you can get more information with more time and it's not urgent that we make a decision tonight, I am fine holding off. I'd rather be armed with more information than less if it's not, again, an urgent issue. So I don't even think we need to take action then if that's the case. We would just need to give direction to bring this back, and that's where I stand at the moment. But if it is something where it benefits us to be more aggressive with what we have right now, because it'll benefit us on the back end, because I share the same concerns. I've been saying it for 4 years, though, and for whatever anomaly this is with this economy, it just hasn't dipped the way I think any of us anticipated it might. It doesn't mean it won't. I mean, I know you had referenced geopolitical issues, and we have all the gas and oil and all the other commodities that are impacted at the moment. CPI came in way lower than I think a lot of people thought it would earlier this year. So there's just too much instability. And so with more information, I think it'd benefit all of us as well as the public, especially on making a decision I feel will be this large and impact us long term in the future. So those are all my comments. I will say good job I don't think that you've been a failure because you've only met half of the S&P 500. When you're working with public funds, you need to be fiscally responsible, and I think that you have done your fiduciary duty with all of those things. So those are my comments. Thank you for this presentation, and I will look forward to information in the future.
Councilmember Fox.
Thank you. Yeah, so thank you very much for putting this together and for doing all this digging for us and trying to give us the best course of action. And thanks to our previous councils for getting ahead of this and putting us in pretty good shape. It's a good problem to have where you have multiple options, and having options is always better than not having options. So I'm pretty grateful for that. So the current recommendation, if we're to follow this plan, is basically just when we get to those years, allowing staff to use this fund to pay the balances. It's not actually moving any money immediately.
Correct, yeah. What we envision right now, the first year, if council gave us that direction, the first year we think we would probably bring it forward for council consideration would be year one of the next biennial budget, which would be 27-28.
And so that also means that technically every year, if there's a huge upturn or downturn in the market, we could potentially change that policy based off of new information. So
absolutely.
Okay. Well, I mean, that sounds like, it's good that we get to, because we have the money in our hands, that means we can keep adjusting based off current circumstances and stuff. So that sounds like a pretty good thing. The other question I had was, at one point I heard that, it almost made it sound like we actually were paying interest on the unfunded liabilities in some way, like a lot of different mortgages. And so technically paying them off, if we're paying, a mixed rate of 6.8% or so, is that what I kind of was under? That's right. Okay. So basically, if we did pay that debt off, wait, do we have debt on that? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, the 90 million of unfunded actuarial liability is essentially, simple terms, of the pension debt.
So paying it off is almost like getting ourselves a 6.8% rate on the, if we're not paying it, it's almost like keeping it in account, and getting 6.8% would kind of even out.
Yeah, and I mean, that's worth mentioning, Councilmember Fox. The benchmark for the 115 trust at a 50-50 split is about 6.3%, so it's about 0.5% less. Its actual performance, as Mike mentioned, has been up over 7%, so
right,
we have beat the CalPERS discount rate.
And with the idea of it having multiple different, you said it was like amalgamation of a bunch of different mortgages, are some of those at different rates than others?
No.
Okay, so there's no like, oh, we can target some of the higher interest, and okay. Well, there goes that idea. Okay, well, no, I think that sounds like we're in a pretty good spot. So, I mean, I'd love to learn more about this as well, and I know it's a big chunk of money, when it comes to pension liabilities. And so as council members, I think it's important that we learn as much as we can about it and make sure that we're doing a good job up here. So I appreciate all the information that from both of you and for both mics, and we'll and I'll let the rest of my council. Thanks.
What's our blended return on our emergency funds that are not in the 115?
That is shown on a monthly basis in each treasurer's cash report. We're probably around 3.5 right now.
And what's our balance in the emergency fund?
Just over, I want to say 40.5, something like that.
I think the real issue that we need to be focused on is we need to be moving money out of our emergency fund and into the 115 trust, because we would dramatically increase our earnings. While in a real downturn situation, it limits what we can do, but we're never going to be, we're probably not going to need $40 million at once. And if you look at this slide, our ordinary pension obligation has been $12 million for the year. So what can you do with money that's in the 115 pension trust fund? You can make your normal payments, and you can make your UAL additional payments. So effectively, you can access in any given year between $12 and $15 million of pension money that you would have had to come up with out of your general fund. So you can reduce your general fund obligations by, call it $15 million for these number of years. So it would limit the amount that you could access in any one down year. But, you know, I think if we were to move, I mean, I'd probably want to see us move like $20 million out of the emergency reserve fund, move it into the 115. The earnings on that additional $20 million would well more than pay, because you've got basically $2.5 to $3 million. We're earning $1.8 million a year right now in the 115 fund at the current earnings. If you put that extra $20 million in there, you're going to be earning $4 or $5 million a year at the current, 7-year rate, which would easily pay well more. And then you could start to reduce the demand of the normal cost payments in the future. Once we get past this, the classic employees, we've got, I don't know if I heard you talk about this, but we have, we swallowed the antlers of the deer, is moving through the anaconda right now. When we get to the end of the classic employees and we start seeing the retirement curve for the Pepper employees, then our UAL starts to go back down. Hopefully you're right about it. Those are pretty hard numbers. So there'll be a
generational cohort shift for sure, to your point, Mayor, but it's also worth mentioning, you're talking about shifting funds from the general reserve to the 115 trust fund reserve. The other component of 5-year reviews is because this is another thing that we did in 2022, and we will do this secondary review in 2027, which is to do another risk-based analysis of what the city's reserve should be. And we're going to do that again with the GFOA. We asked the initial question and came up with the 30 to 35% range. Well, that data is 5 years old. For example, one of the risks that we assessed 5 years ago was wildfire risk. I think we can all probably agree the risk base of that, based on what happened up in LA, is probably going to shift for the worse. Some of the others may be better, to where staff can come to council and recommend a lower range, but until we do that analysis, we won't know, and we'll know that probably in early 2027.
Well, the money in our 115 is very much available for an emergency, in that we can short pay our pension obligations from our general fund and simply pay the present obligations out of the 115. So we can access it, but the problem is it only gives us that $12 to $15 million a year, which is still a lot of money, So we wouldn't want to get rid of all of the $40 million out of the emergency. But if we could increase our rate of return by 4 or 5% on $20 million.
I don't disagree with you, but keep in mind, every dollar in that 115 trust can only be used for pension expenses. So
right. But every dollar we don't have to spend out of the general fund this year on pension, either in current costs or UAL, is dollars we can spend to pay current salaries, buy new fire trucks, build parks, any other obligation to the city.
Correct.
Money is fungible.
But if there were a near-term extreme event where...
If we needed all $40 million at once, we wouldn't have it. If we moved $20 million over, then we'd be locking up, all but 12 to 15 million of that we could spend in the current year to offset what we would pay out of the general fund. So yes, it reduces liquidity to some degree. I don't know that we're ever going to have an incident where we're going to need $40 million all at once. If we did, and it was because of wildfire, we would expect the state and the federal government to step in and help us. They have every other time. These natural disasters are limited in the scope of time and geography. What we're really saving for is not a wildfire. What we're really saving for is a long-term downturn in the economy, like we had in 2007, that we had 7 years of deficit spending for. We really should focus on improving our rates of return, as Mr. Kelly said. But the log in our eye, this is the splinter. The log in our eye is the 3 to 4% rate of return on our emergency reserves. The law allows us better investment tools, still very conservative, but much better investment tools with this 115 trust fund. It's one of the reasons I really wanted to put more money into it when we had the opportunity. When we reduce because our annual gains at 7% in the 115 fund, they could fund $5 million a year. That frees up $5 million a year that we can spend on anything we want. We could be funding, I mean, government, we're now 63 years old as a government. We should have significant resources generating significant annual gains. Instead, we have debt holdings. We really got to think about that. We really do. Deputy Mayor.
I don't disagree with anything you've just said. What I would want to, and this isn't the appropriate time to talk about it, but what I want to do is add this discussion to the year-end fund balance discussion, because I have no problem with creating a percentage of the year-end fund balance that would go into the 115, right? We do the same thing for the reserve every year. We could even set a certain portion or percentage depending upon what the number is. We're not going to have $10 million every year. It's just the reality of what it is. But I would be open to trying to make sure that we're starting to allocate those funds to build up our reserves, to make sure that we're healthy financially in multiple facets, because the pension obligation is not going anywhere anytime soon, and it's just going to continue going up. And so I'm okay with all of that. So long as then we could take percentages and replenish the emergency fund, keep the reserve where it needs to be, and then add in additional to this. It may cost us in some projects that we want to do, but so long as they aren't urgent needs of the city, I'd be fine with it. I want to make sure we leave it up to the discretion of the council, so it's not always locked in, but I would be very open to that. So I appreciate the comments, Mayor. I just wanted to add that in there.
Councilmember Fox.
Perfect, yeah. When we do that reserve risk analysis type thing, is that going to take into account things like that we have this 115 trust and some of that? Like, would having money in other accounts make it so that analysis might say we don't need as much in the general fund account?
Sure. One of the risk factors obviously was exponential pension price spikes. So, and that was, to your point, it was the reason why we made the recommendation to council back in 2022 to superfund the 115 trust.
Yeah, well, it sounds like that was a good idea at the time. So with that, the fact that we could potentially pay up to $12 million a year out of that account, would that, like the mayor was saying, would that be part of that analysis? Would that be taken into consideration, I guess I should say?
Sure. Well, to the mayor's point, it's you can create budgetary capacity. If council were to direct staff, we want normal cost and UAL in any given year. Current year, it's around $12 million. Sure, that immediately creates capacity budgetarily for any type of spending.
For an emergency year or something, if that's
sure. Well, it could be done during an emergency or not during an emergency. Right. It's set up for an emergency, yeah. But it is super funded right now, which is that's why we're having the discussion.
And then my last question was, is there potentially some third option here where there's we know that we have our risk mitigation covered through our emergency fund. We know that we have our pension liabilities covered through this 115, so we create a third, more aggressive fund that is, not tied up in pensions, but could be used for anything. Is there you don't have to answer that now, but is there hey, we already have a fully funded?
Off the top of my head, I'm not aware of one. Maybe Mike is, but as the mayor mentioned, thanks to Orange County, we are pretty hemmed in.
Yeah, well, I think it's very important that we make sure we keep funds in an emergency fund, and if we are smart and have some extra money like left over, then past what that risk analysis shows we need. Yeah. If at year-end fund balance we decide we want to put more into a different account or something. Yeah, that was mainly the question. So no answer needed now, but just if that's something that we could potentially talk about.
The 115 trust is the only type of investment strategy I know of that's outside of the government code restrictions. So it's really the only way to access stocks, bonds, other types of investments. So
That's super interesting. Okay, well, that was it. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, effectively, there would be no way to fund the public employees' pension funds in California if you didn't remove the public investment restrictions from the funds that they're invested in. We're tremendously reliant, as every person is who has a retirement invested. We're tremendously, I have enough money that if I never had to touch it, one day I might be able to afford to retire, but it has to grow for 25 more years. If I touch it between now and then, I'm screwed. Only the growth. So we could be in that scenario. When I came onto the council, our reserves were less than 10% of our general fund, which is to say we had very little. I do want to close this conversation by highlighting the fact that we are about 1% better funded than the cities in California. So we're slightly ahead of the curve, which for a city that's 25% below the median income of the county, we are not a rich city. We're very much a middle-class community. We're really punching above our weight. We're doing really well. The fact that we have a 115 trust fund, a lot of our neighbors in San Diego County do not, and that's on top of our emergency reserves. And while it's not 100% accessible in emergency, because we only have $12 to $15 million a year of pension costs, and we can only spend it on pension costs, it still gives us the ability to defray $10 to $15 million a year of current expenses. And it ensures that for the long run, we're never going to be a situation where we cannot meet our obligations with our pensions. But I don't want to pass on making sure that people of Vista understand that because we're having these conversations, we're in a much better place than a lot of other cities are. So, we don't need to wait to get back through I was going to say it, the 1,000 parallel universes analysis. We do need to look at what every smart investor would tell you, which is, is $20 million going to be enough to get us 20 million plus the 15 million? So that's really $35 million. You got 40 million in there now that you could spend on anything this year. If you move 20 of it, you'd still have $35 million that you could spend, but you'd probably have $6-7 million a year of additional revenue. Well, not additional. You'd have $4.5 million a year of additional revenue. That more than covers this triangle. And then when we get past this triangle and we start to see the Pepper employees retire, now for the first time ever, I don't think it'll really happen, but the city, because costs are gonna continue to grow in other areas, but we would actually have more money available under our current, revenue model, which would be amazing. So, and that's what it should be. We should be investors for the long term. We should be building our balance sheet, not building our liabilities. And that's what governments are doing all throughout Southern California. They're building liabilities instead of building assets. If we had a long-term outlook, we would build an amazing book of assets, and it would generate tens of millions of dollars every year, and it would be here in perpetuity, and it would do amazing things for our children and grandchildren. But you have to think that way. You have to think generationally about these kind of investments. So we're in a lot better place than we are, but I think we should model what that would look like for the council. That's the kind of modeling we should be doing, is if we just move this money from here to here, how much better off would we be 10 years from now? It would be crazy how much better off we would be. All right, thank you for the analysis. I think, you've got a solid pathway to pay all of that triangle from almost just the capital gains. I think we could figure out a way. You don't have to wind that account down to $12 million balance. I think you could have $25 million left at the end of it. That's my thought. With a small additional payment from the year-end fund, or there's ways. So thank you for the good presentation. We'll talk to the investment advisors, and we should look at some different scenarios, how we can improve overall return on investment for our investments. Councilmember Contreras?
I just want to say I appreciate the line of thought, Mayor Franklin. I just need to be on record saying that I'm not in favor of raiding the general fund reserve because there are so many restrictions on the 115 trust that it is critically important that if we go into a downturn that we have the most flexibility to utilize funds, especially because I do not want to see this affect the staffing levels that we have and potential future obligations that we have to our residents here in the city of Vista. So I really do believe in a lot of additional flexibility. I think that the way that we have it structured now has produced some really good results. And I think it would be very easy for the council to add some more additional funds when we have it at the year-end fund balance. If we do have a year-end fund balance, it sounds like we will again, that we commit to moving some of that over to the 115 trust. I have a hard time predicting only good in the Section 115 trust, and I just think that there's a cost to having less flexibility with the funds available. So anyways, that's just where I stand. Thank you.
Okay, that's going to be the conclusion of that item. Thank you very much. That's going to bring us to item D4, our street lighting assessment project update. If any members of the public wish to speak on this item, they may indicate so by using the raise your hand feature by pressing *9 or submitting a request to speak card here at the dais. Speakers will be called upon after the presentation. Our assistant to the city manager, Joshua Santa Cruz, will introduce the item.
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and members of the City Council. I'm here with Gabe Grury, our Capital Projects Manager, and tonight we'll be providing an update to the street lighting assessment project, CIP number 8385. So just a quick overview, the street lighting assessment project is focused on enhancing public safety by improving lighting, particularly in areas where it is scarce or non-existent. This initiative aligns with Council's goals, including public safety, fiscal responsibility, and climate and environmental responsibility. The initial pilot program was completed in March 2025. 12 solar lights were installed in the neighborhood west of North Melrose along Cocopah, Tatum, Spires, and Onley. After more than a year of operation, the lights have proven reliable across all seasons and weather conditions, and the city received positive feedback from the community. We are currently in phase 2 of construction. This past January, Council approved the contract for the installation of 97 additional lights. The project is approximately 65% complete, with 55 lights installed and 20 locations in progress. Completion is anticipated in early May. The photos shown here are from recent installations over at Moon Road. Residents on streets scheduled for light installation are notified by the contractor by mail approximately 2 weeks in advance. Project signage is also posted in the area to inform the public, and no parking signs related to the construction are posted at least 48 hours prior. During phase 2, 8 calls were received regarding concerns on the installations. Most were addressed and primarily involved requests to adjust lighting locations. However, on Salina Court, 6 out of the 17 households on the street expressed opposition to installing the streetlights altogether. For the next construction, phase number 3, 60 requests shown here in the GIS map were received, reviewed, and recommended by the Community Safety Commission at their meeting this past February. The Commission also established a point-based prioritization system to guide future installations if requests exceeded available funding. 2 points would be awarded for high crime rate, and 1 point each would be awarded for high collision area, no existing lighting, high pedestrian activity, no sidewalks, no crosswalks or stop signs, and route to public transportation. Since the Commission last met, an additional 28 requests have been received, further emphasizing the need to prioritize installations moving forward. So based on the commission's recommendation, staff can utilize GIS map layers to support prioritization. This slide shows how layers such as crime rates, collision data, pedestrian activity, and existing or missing infrastructure can be overlaid to help identify and evaluate locations. So staff recommends receiving and filing this update on the street lighting assessment project and utilizing the Community Safety Commission's prioritization framework to guide future installations and ensure available funding is directed to the highest priority locations. This concludes staff's presentation. We're available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay, and we have Jeannie Chick would like to be heard on this item. Hi there.
Yeah, I live on Selena Court, and the installation of the lights has gone on all around our neighborhood. And we have houses, I have visual aids here, where I don't know if you can see, we have windows that are triangular, that are just about impossible to block light out of. And, you know, if your bedroom happens to be on that side of the street, too bad. And it's one of the problems that confronts us in those homes. Lots of windows and doors too. The other concern, I did approach my neighbors and said, you know, what do you think about it? None of them had been informed of this project. It was all new. So at last minute, we got a petition together to maybe keep our little cul-de-sac dark. One neighbor loves to get up early in the morning, looks for satellites. That's his thing. Another neighbor, a middle schooler, she's studying ornithology. She's very concerned about bird migration, is heavily affected by the lights. She worries that the owls will appear in her yard. And I'm aware of the point system that was, you know, to decide who got lights. But, you know, we don't have any crime. I've lived there almost 40 years. No crime on our little cul-de-sac. My next door neighbor says, the best thing for crime prevention is community. Know your neighbors. Look out for each other. And we're all, well, I don't know about everybody, but, you know, a lot of us just really like to have dark street. It's just, because there's so much ambient light, you feel almost like it's disappearing. There's just no chance to see stars anymore. And I'd like to also include that this week is International Dark Sky Week. And I'd like to encourage, you know, us to enjoy the darkness and not be afraid of it. And so we have a temporarily, Josh has been great. He's gave me a temporary stay that we don't have the lights on our street. And so I'm asking basically that.
Thank you very much. And maybe we can look into whether a shroud over the light would help with the issue in your bedroom. So perhaps we can explore that. I know you don't want them at all. I got it. But it sounded like you were saying they're already spilling into your bedroom, so. Okay. They're not up yet. Yeah. I understand. Thank you very much. Councilmember Contreras.
Well, you know, I'm first of all, thank you to staff and to the council for, you know, funding more lights. It's something that I hear all the time in my district. And, you know, how many lights were we going to put on Selena Court?
There's
What was that?
Two lights?
Two? Okay, I have no problem at this time in seeing that there is a majority that haven't spoken in opposition, 65% or so, that we don't know if they oppose or if not, but 35% are adamantly against putting lights on Selena Court. If the council would be amendable, there's some other areas in my district I have advocated for a long time that by Salsa Market on East Drive, there's a lot of folks that walk to the Salsa Market. It's incredibly dark. If the council is okay with it, I would love to move those two lights over to East Drive by Salsa Market. And then, other than that, I'm okay moving forward with the staff's recommendations and the recommendations from the Safety Commission. And I feel like East Drive fits those recommendations that the Safety Commission put forward. But one of the things moving forward would be great to have a petition system where neighbors could petition for a light similar to our traffic calming petition. And what I would do at this point is just direct staff to create that and to bring it back to a council meeting so that we can review it and then we can put it up as an active petition. So I'll go ahead and make a motion to accept the recommendations to move the two lights from Selena Court to East Drive by Salsa Market, and for staff to create a prioritization or a petition process that fits in with the prioritization framework and bring that to council in the future for discussion. Thank you.
Councilmember, if I could just get clarification, the petition system that you're seeking is to request a streetlight or to object to one when one's planned on your block?
Well, the traffic calming petition works in reverse as it works in the affirmative. So I would want this petition system to be able to be utilized in both ways.
Okay.
Yeah. If possible. I think there is a way to do it, but we've seen the speed hump petition be used to say no. It doesn't happen too often, but I think that there could be that ability built into this petition process for additional lights. And then I just have a technical question. So say we install these lights, we move forward, and then we hear after the fact that a neighborhood is super opposed to it. Is it simple enough to be able to remove, because this is technically it's kind of like off the grid, are we able to move that solar light somewhere else?
They can be. It's there's a cost associated with that, so it'll be basically just taking out of the ground and reinstalling somewhere else. So there's the deinstallation cost and reinstallation cost somewhere else.
Are we talking about a cost that doesn't exceed $3,000 potentially? How about we get some more information and you just bring it back to the council? I'm just curious because hopefully everybody wants their light, but if they really don't, I just want to have a little bit more information as to how much it would cost to move that light. And I think that's where moving forward a petition process would really alleviate any concerns about removing a light, but just for council to have that information. Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Fox.
Thank you. What is the current plan for if we install one in an area and an entire neighborhood comes out and decides that they don't want them?
I mean, we don't really have a current plan. We just receive feedback from the community and then we kind of go off that.
Okay, so it would potentially be on the table to remove them if the demand is like unanimous on a street or something like that?
Right now, we have been working with individual owners to just move the lights to a location that they're not objecting to. But in this case, like Selena Court, we would move forward with a petition, assuming the council's supportive tonight.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually going to bring up a petition process as well. I think that, it makes sense if if it is something that seems to be partially contentious, then we at least know which neighbors were in favor of them, so we can kind of have okay, if there's support in a neighborhood in general and we have some houses that said, yes, we want them, then we can maybe target those areas to potentially put them. And so, maybe that would help a little bit on the placement as well. And if we do it kind of in the same kind of rolling period type thing that we do with everything else, and we can prioritize and, we have this much budget, so we can do this many lights, go through the scoring list and come up with our construction list. So other than that, would the East Drive lights probably score high enough to be in the next phase of, is it 90 lights or something? Is it likely that they would probably?
I think just from the GIS map layers, that probably would be a good candidate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well then, yeah, then I'm not going to have any issues with switching them over to that if that's going to be the next phase anyway. So, yeah. So, okay. Well then, yeah, I'm going to second the motion and hope for the rest of council.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell.
Yeah, I definitely support a petition process. My fear with the petition process is going to be that people are going to say yes, that they want it. They just don't want it right here in front of their house. Right, yeah. I'm not going to say that into a microphone. So we just need to be cognizant of that. We're not going to be able to please everybody, even if they want the street light there. But I am fully supportive of not putting them into Salina Court and moving them into the area that Councilmember Contreras has asked for. I have no issue with that. I don't think that we need to do a petition process for this particular case. But moving forward, if we can create one, I think that'd be very ideal for both installation and removal if necessary. Hopefully not removal, but it wouldn't, obviously anything could happen. So those are all my comments, though. I think you guys did a really good job with this. The program itself, I think, is fantastic. It provides us an opportunity to provide lighting in areas at a very efficient, cost-effective way. And so I look forward to seeing what you bring back, but appreciate all your hard work on this and the comments from the council.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilmember Melendez.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. I was hoping to just express my support for the item and my understanding that our residents who might live in a more secluded area are comfortable without the lights in a cul-de-sac, for example. And I'm always really pleased to hear that our continued efforts to improve safety are making an impact. We have lowered our crime rates in Vista, and the community is feeling that. And they feel safe and secure, and they feel trustworthy of their neighbors, and they feel supported by the city. And so when it comes to the more aesthetic experience of wanting to have a nice dim street in a quiet neighborhood, I completely understand that. And I do think a petition process would only support our efforts for safety, because a lot of these initial locations for streetlight installation did come out of a series of surveys. I personally led surveys when we first were initiating this process. And then the city, with our consultants, we were able to get some really good feedback from the community as to specifically where. So, even though we did our due diligence, there can still be, maybe misrepresentations or areas where we don't know the full details of the street and the neighborhood and what that experience is like. So we always welcome feedback, and I think that the communication of a petition process is only going to help us get better and more valuable information in the future. So definitely support the item. Thank you.
Very good. We have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes.
I vote aye.
Thank you. Okay, that motion is adopted unanimously with no street lights on your street. Okay, all right. Make sure and keep coming to the council meetings and, chiming in whenever this comes back. Are we sending notices out? Okay, we're sending notices out, so you should get a notice if any of your neighbors have designs on changing that outcome in the future, okay? All right. All right, our last item of the evening is a discussion item regarding the Circle neighborhood traffic improvements. If any members of the public wish to speak on this item, they may indicate so by using the raise your hand feature by pressing *9 or submitting a request to speak card here at the dais. Speakers will be called upon after the presentation. We do have at least one speaker. Let's see, Councilmember Contreras asked for this item to be on the agenda, so we'll ask her to introduce it.
Yes, thank you so much. The item that we're about to discuss is an area of District 1 that I've had concerns about for a very long time. As someone who walks, bikes, takes public transit, and drives, all modes of transportation are not safe in the Circle. For folks who have not been there yet, you can simply look at the information in the packet. There is no traffic control at this time. And there's a lot of pedestrians that walk in an area that doesn't have sidewalk. I mean, even just the other day, I went to discuss this issue with some of the residents. And in the few seconds that I was walking, I saw a lot of folks needing to walk in the middle of the street. I had to do that myself. And folks crossing where there's not even a yield or a stop for another vehicle. So you really are taking kind of your life in your own hands just to make it to the market across the street and back. So I look forward to staff going through this presentation. I really hope that we're able to at least provide the minimum amount of safety, which is providing a high visibility crosswalk at Orange and Indiana, and then creating a full sidewalk, because now on North Indiana, there's only one middle section of that block that has sidewalk. And again, this is just critical for circulation, our just in time for just in time for foster youth. The drop-in center is right there on the corner. You have North County Lifeline, and then you have a lot of density and a lot of folks that have to park their car kind of far away and have to walk to the different multifamily homes. So we'll go through it. There's a lot of additional improvements that also need to happen, but again, the more improvements, the higher the cost. So really focusing in on that missing pedestrian safety circulation of the missing sidewalk. The residents are also wanting to put 2 speed humps in the alley of Indiana, where the multifamily North Santa Fe apartments are. And then also, that alleyway continues across from East Orange, and there's a lot of speeding there, so an additional speed hump would be great on that end. And then with the item that we just approved, there are some additional lights that are going to go in. So those are the improvements that I want to focus on at this time. And these are eligible. This area is eligible for the Community Block Development Grant. So I know that council had previously approved that just a meeting or two ago, but we didn't approve a project. And I think that the approving of a project comes back in May. It's in here, okay. So I think this is a great candidate for this project. And it's also listed as number 8 on the overall prioritization for infrastructure needs. And if you look at, where it is on the list, there's some other locations that, whether it's in downtown, on Haynes, we're looking at a whole downtown strategy. So you really see that this number 8 could potentially be moved up even higher, because some of the other ones, although they may be important, I don't believe that they have as much pedestrian activity as this area does. So that's just to preface this this discussion, and I look forward to hearing everybody else's comments. Thank you, staff, and I'll hand it over to you.
Okay, we have two members of the public that want to be heard on this item. The first is, oh, I'm sorry, yes, I do. Absolutely, we'll hear from our members of the public after staff presents. We have our Sam Hassanen here to present tonight.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So I'll give a quick background on the item. So in April 2025, staff completed the Townsite Complete Streets Phase 2 feasibility study in collaboration with Council Member Karina Contreras and the community. The plan developed solutions for traffic calming and non-motorized traffic issues for the area bounded by East Vista Way, Vista Village, North Santa Fe Avenue, and East Mobier Drive. In October 2025, Councilmember Contreras held a follow-up neighborhood meeting focused on the area around the circle to obtain additional resident feedback. So the results from the original town site, the larger town site Phase 2 study, and the follow-up community meeting are going to be summarized in the next few slides, and they're kind of broken down by sort of the scale of implementation. So the first group is the immediate improvements, which have already been completed, speed limit signs that we installed in the circle area, always stop at the intersection of the circle and East Orange Street, and always stop at the intersection of East Washington Street and North Indiana Avenue. And the next group is the short-term improvements in the circle area, and that's speed humps in the alleys, which the fire department reviewed and approved. And the cost is approximately $10,000 for 2 speed humps in the alley. Raised crosswalk with a rectangular rapid flashing beacon system at the intersection of East Washington Street and North Michigan Avenue, which includes curb ramps and pop-outs at an approximate cost of $200,000. This is a picture of the area that shows on the left is the alley that runs north-south, and it shows the red lines are potential locations for 2 speed humps. And then on the bottom of the picture is East Washington Street at North Michigan. That shows the proposed location for a raised crosswalk. The medium-term improvements include sidewalks, pop-outs, and street lighting as proposed in the circle area from the original Townsite Phase 2 plan, as well as from the subsequent neighborhood meeting. And the approximate cost for these improvements is $3 million. And then finally, we have long-term improvements, and this includes all the improvements from the Townsite Phase 2 plan for the larger Townsite area, and that's approximately $8 million. The next 2 slides are a picture of the improvements. This is just in the circle area, and it shows the various things like pop-outs, sidewalks. Most of the cost is probably in the sidewalks and the curb ramps. And this is a larger Townsite Phase 2 plan, which has many streets and many improvements. So in a recent field meeting with Councilmember Contreras, it was determined that the next priority is a sidewalk and crosswalks on Indiana Avenue between East Orange Street and East Washington Street to accommodate high pedestrian activity. The estimated cost for that is $400,000. This is a picture of that one sidewalk segment on Indiana. So starts at East Orange in the north, it goes down to East Washington on the south. So just one sidewalk segment on the east side. And it would also include high visibility crosswalks at the 2 intersections. And that would complete the route between East Orange and Vista Village Drive along North Indiana. So one thing about the priority of the sidewalks, and this is based on the sidewalk priority plan that was recently approved by the City Council. So what the staff proposes for next year's CIP budget, for next fiscal year CIP budget that is coming to Council in the near future, the top 5 locations, which are all happen to be CDBG eligible, is West Los Angeles Drive, Townside Drive, West California, West Bobier Drive, and Eucalyptus Avenue. And the circle area that I just had the picture of with that sidewalk in North Indiana is its rank is number 8 on the sidewalk priority list. So staff recommendation is to receive information on the circle neighborhood traffic improvements and provide direction to staff. Thank you.
Okay, now we'll hear from our public speakers, your members for oral communications. Pris Fuentes, followed by Teresa Delgado on Zoom. Is Pris Fuentes here? Yeah, she's here. Spanish, yes. Okay.
Buenas tardes, distinguidos miembros del Consejo y comunidad presente. Mi nombre es Pris Fuentes y estoy aquí para expresar mi apoyo a las mejoras de tráfico propuestas para el vecindario de Circo. Primero, quiero agradecer a la concejal Corina Contreras por escuchar directamente a los residentes. Este tipo de participación es fundamental porque quienes vivimos y transitamos diariamente por estas calles para hacer nuestras caminatas, somos los que mejor entendemos los desafíos, exceso de velocidad, falta de señalización clara y preocupaciones por la seguridad de peatones y familias. Las mejoras de tráfico no son solo cambios en la infraestructura, son inversiones en seguridad, calidad de vida y bienestar comunitario. Medidas como el control de velocidad, mejor señalización o rediseño de calles pueden prevenir accidentes y hacer que nuestros vecindarios sean más seguros para todos, especialmente para niños y personas mayores. Algunas mascotas han perdido la vida y aún es más triste y preocupante perder la vida de un ser humano. También es importante reconocer que ya se han dado algunos pasos, pero este esfuerzo debe continuar y fortalecerse con bases en los datos y la retroalimentación de la comunidad. Por eso, les pido respetuosamente que continúen priorizando estas mejoras y que aseguren que las soluciones implementadas reflejen las necesidades reales de los residentes. Solicito muy atentamente y de manera respetuosa una respuesta favorable a nuestra petición. Gracias por su tiempo y por su compromiso con nuestra comunidad. Estamos seguros que tendremos una respuesta positiva y sería como un regalo para cada uno de los residentes y vecindarios que vivimos en esa comunidad. Muchas gracias y buenas noches.
Muchas gracias. Okay, next we'll go to Zoom and we'll hear from Teresa Delgado. Teresa Delgado?
Si estás disponible por Zoom, tienes la habilidad de hablar ahorita.
She's still there? Teresa Delgado? Can you hear us?
Sí, buenas noches.
Buenas noches.
Sí, mire, mi nombre es Teresa Delgado. Soy residente por 40 años aquí en la ciudad de Vista. Aquí por la Indiana ya tengo 20 años viviendo, pero mi preocupación es el tráfico. Yo no tengo carro, siempre ando caminando, pero hay mucho tráfico aquí al bajar la circo de la Orange y la Washington. Yo quería saber qué posibilidades hay de que pongan unos topes aquí entre la callecita de los apartamentos North Santa Fe, porque de ambos lados entran carros muy, muy rápido. Entre la Washington y la Orange entran muy rápidos para los apartamentos de North Santa Fe y la verdad, lamentablemente hay una pérdida de un animalito, ¿verdad? Y como le digo, ¿qué se espera de un ser humano, de un ser querido? Y no queremos eso, queremos saber si podrían ayudarnos a hacer unos stop, o sea, unos topes que se llama speed bump. ¿Y qué posibilidades hay para que nos puedan ayudar con eso? Para que, pues que no, para que no entren en velocidad los carros. Y más que nada también poner un stop sign entre la Orange y la Indiana para cruzar hacia la Marqueta, porque no hay un señalamiento de stop ni nada y pues bajan muchos carros de la Orange y eso, y pues a veces estamos esperando ahí y más que nada a veces hasta nos pueden atropellar porque no hay un señalamiento para poder cruzar hacia la Marqueta y eso, y pues eso es mi preocupación, ¿verdad? De que qué podemos hacer o que si nos pueden ayudar a poner un señalamiento para cruzar hacia la Marqueta y poner los topes aquí por los apartamentos North Santa Fe. Muchas gracias y esa es mi opinión. Si por favor nos pueden ayudar y más que nada quiero dar gracias al Mr. Mayor y a todos los del City Council y a Miss Corina Contreras porque pues nos ha hecho el favor de escuchar nuestras preocupaciones como vecindarios y pues es más que nada es para toda la comunidad de Vista y eso es lo que queremos. Si nos pueden hacer el favor de ayudarnos con eso, por favor.
Muchas gracias.
Gracias.
Muchas gracias. Okay, Councilmember Contreras, do you have more, or do you want to hear from Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
I have a little bit more.
Yeah, please.
All right, and just a clarification, Sam, is there already a proposed traffic control, like a stop sign at the Circle and East Orange and Indiana, in North Indiana and the Circle? So those two lower parts of the Circle.
East Orange and the Circle, that's the one that was approved by the City Council recently, the Always Stop. And then if I can just go to that. Okay, so so East Orange and the Circle, that's the location where the proposed sidewalk would begin, right? So that's an Always Stop that was already approved by the City Council. And as we go further south to Washington and North Indiana, that's the other location.
She was referring to the location at the Circle in North Indiana. So we do not have a stop proposed there currently.
We do not, correct.
Does it potentially qualify for a stop, or is this a more of a yield situation?
Based on volumes, it most likely would not meet the quantitative criteria. Plus, there's an Always Stop that will be going in just very short block to the north at the Circle in Orange.
Okay, and so understandable if it doesn't meet any warrants for a stop sign, but there currently is not even a yield sign, to my knowledge.
So are we talking about a one-way stop or an all-way just coming off of the Circle?
Coming off of the Circle, one of the issues that I've heard from the residents here is that vehicles aren't exactly sure who is supposed to yield and who is supposed to go, and there's a lot of close calls. And then with the amount of pedestrian volume that happens even without a sidewalk right now, it is a conflict area. So, you know, and there isn't any kind of order right now. So
if it's, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I just think it would be good to add some kind of signage.
Yeah, if it's a one-way stop, it will likely meet.
Okay.
Especially coming off of the Circle, coming into a T intersection, basically. So yeah.
Okay, is that something that we can evaluate and then send over to the Traffic Commission for, or they can review it to see if they want to move forward with it, and then it would come back to council?
Yeah, so something the staff would do the technical evaluation, which I think it will likely meet, then we can bring it forward.
Okay, fantastic. So I would love to see that happen. And then one of the things is the speed hump. So I know that there's only one designated for the North Santa Fe apartments right there in the little alleyway. There is a desire from the residents to have two. Does the length of the street allow for two?
I believe it's too short, so we're talking about just
Okay.
that one block of the alley.
Right.
Yeah, and it's kind of on the lower end of the speed since it's an alley. So
Right.
I think one speed hump should be adequate.
Okay, so let's start with one. And if we see that that doesn't work, then I certainly will hear from the residents about that. And then I can bring it back as a discussion. So right now, what I would like to move is the proposed sidewalk completion from East Orange Drive to Washington Street on North Indiana Avenue. The high visibility crosswalks, so everything that you see, council, in front of you in this slide, and as well as having staff review a stop or other traffic control at the intersection of the Circle and North Indiana, and the two proposed and reviewed by the fire department and approved speed humps on the alley, one being behind the North Santa Fe apartments and the other one being behind the marketplace on the other side. And that will complete my motion. Thank you so much.
I'm in charge for a moment.
All right.
This is fun. So I'm going to be up next. So I will. You did. I'm sorry. I was reading something, but you did include the speed humps in the alley in your motion. Just one.
Yeah,
Okay.
one on this section and one on the further section up.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, this one.
So these and then the sidewalk
But
improvement.
not that yet.
Okay. I will support that motion and second it. And Councilmember Fox, you are up.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. First time acting mayor at the current. Yeah. Would this typically be on our next CIP discussion to discuss like the CDBG funds and for sidewalk priorities?
So that was going to be one of my comments. If the council's supportive of this tonight, then we would move this to the top priority CDBG project, and the other 4 or 5 would move down.
Okay. I think it was number 5 on the list is that Eucalyptus Avenue Ocean View Park, where we're talking about 165 Eucalyptus. That is that something where it's a good idea to work on that, or is it a good idea not to work on it with all the other construction going on right now?
So Sam, do you want to clarify where the Eucalyptus Avenue sidewalk is proposed? On the
Yes.
south side of the street?
Yeah, so it would be correct because we have a sidewalk on the north side currently, which serves, that connection. So that could be one possibly that could move.
I think that it is the one that gets kicked off, so that's why I was
Yes.
curious. So it's like, is that, I know that there's a lot of things going on right there right now, and I wasn't sure if that was a strategic, like, hey, we're already doing construction in the area, let's just knock it all at once, or if it's a, hey, there's already gonna be construction, we should probably wait on this until we see how the development goes.
It just happens to be number 5.
It just happens to be number 5, so that's why I was curious about it. I mean, I'd be happier kind of talking about this item during the CDBG or the CIP conversation, just because then I can compare it to the other ones where I don't have necessarily all the other ones in front of me right now. I wouldn't say that I'm not supportive of it. I mean, it is highly ranked on the list, so it would likely be in next year's round, even if we didn't get to it right now, just with the current pacing. So moving some things around. I know that a lot of these are actually the top ones above it are in your district as well. So if you're thinking that some of those ones are that this jumps that priority to you, you probably know your district best. So that makes sense to me. So I'm kind of torn on it. I think like I'm not against it in practice. I think I would have rather heard about it during the CDBG CIP just discussion, so I could see the other ones with it and make that kind of comparison in my mind. But if the rest of council's amenable to it, I'm not against it in principle. So thanks.
So my question is, are we, we're not obligating the money tonight?
That was the motion by Councilmember Contreras.
What's the dollar amount for these improvements?
$400,000 for the sidewalk, $10,000 for the 2 speed humps, and I don't think the stop sign is going to be maybe $800 for the stop sign.
Well, it is a relatively small amount of money in total. Was this something that staff envisioned as being part of the CIP?
The CIP list for CDBG sidewalks is here, so this would take priority over the sidewalks that we were considering in the next CIP.
Okay, and how does it rank on our, we have a list of.
It's number 8 on the list right now.
Right, okay, okay. How many of those are in Councilmember Contreras' district? Quite a few, I might imagine.
Majority.
Okay, so if this is where you think it's most important in your district, then I would defer to your judgment on that, so I'll support it. Deputy Mayor?
You actually asked my question.
Oh. Okay. Very good. Well, it sounds like we have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes. So this is CDBG money.
Correct.
Yeah. That's quite a bit of the.
I vote aye.
That's quite a bit of the allotment, though, huh?
It's about 700,000 total. So it's
Yeah.
more than half.
Okay. That motion is approved unanimously. That'll bring us to the end of our meeting and comments. Do we have any comments from the city clerk's office? City attorney? City manager?
No, sir.
Oh my gosh. Councilmember Fox?
Thanks. Yeah, not a whole lot of comments from me tonight either. Thanks to everyone for a great discussion tonight and for a long day of hard work. And so love my wife very much. Taco Tuesday. Enjoy some tacos. Thanks.
Councilmember Melendez?
Nothing more from me. Thank you for allowing me to participate virtually. I'll see you next time.
Thanks for being with us remotely. Councilmember Contreras?
Let's see. Well, as usual, tomorrow is Wednesday, so if you want to join Guerreras en Acción por un Vista Limpio for a volunteer trash pickup, that is available to you tomorrow. And other than that, I hope everybody has a really great night. Thanks.
Deputy Mayor?
Try and make this one quick. For anybody that was not paying attention, item C2 on consent were the sidewalks on Sunset going out for the approval of that contract. So you will be getting sidewalks probably sometime this summer, I would imagine. Had a meeting with Cal Cities. The only thing I'm going to take, we talked about the water table and all the other things, but the big thing is with e-bikes, there's a lot of legislation at the state level regarding e-bikes and classification and what authority cities will have moving forward. So in that same vein, I am hosting a town hall this Sunday on April 19th in the Morris Vance Community Room right across from this chamber at 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. We'll have our deputies there, our firefighters there, as well as San Diego Bike Coalition to have a discussion about e-bikes, e-bike safety, and community safety. So please come out and join us for that. We're going to kick around some ideas of what we might be able to do. To my wife, Allie, I love you very much for allowing me to serve in this position and being gone many nights. And finally, on Thursday, it is my father's 80th birthday. And yeah, so I just want to wish Jeff O'Donnell a very happy birthday. Some of you may be shocked to learn this, but he and I have very differing political viewpoints, and I still love him. So I just wanted to wish my dad a happy birthday. I hope you all have a great night, and I will see you in a couple Tuesdays.
You know, you have too many common sense leanings. I knew it had to come from somewhere. So happy birthday to Mr. O'Donnell. And to my beautiful wife, thank you for allowing me to serve. Hope to be home with you soon. This Saturday, we celebrate Arbor Day with tree planting at 9 a.m. near the bocce ball courts at Bringle Terrace Park. Participants can pick up a free tree sapling and then head to Alta Vista Gardens Earth Day Festival starting at 10 a.m. The city's free mulch and compost event is this Friday. through Sunday at the intersection of Vale Terrace Drive and Williamson Street. The Stormwater Division will host a cleanup event at Buena Vista Creek Trail on April 25th as part of the I Love Clean San Diego Creek Bay Cleanup. For more details on these events, visit the city's calendar at vista.gov/calendar. Thank you very much, everyone.